Can you hear us? Can you... Over. We are sinking. We are sinking.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
We are sinking. We're sinking.
What are you thinking about?
Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, and all of that stuff. It's a very special Maritime Monday on a Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, the 26th of March, 2024. We normally do the Maritime Mondays on Monday, of course, that's right there in the title. But today there is some serious breaking news that needs to be addressed. Early in the morning, Eastern time, a very, very large cargo ship collided with the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore Harbor, and it led to the instant collapse of the Key Bridge. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. It is very, very fresh. Rescue efforts are still ongoing at this time. It's still in a recovery mode. Not much is known. I'm just going to warn you now, there's not a lot known. And if you've been following it, you probably know everything I know, but I just wanted to kind of wing this and give you a little bit of insight into some of the things that haven't really been reported, plus a lot of the stuff that has been. So I'm glad you're all here. This is kind of an impromptu thing. We've currently got 255 people here. Thank you so much for being here. Where should we start? Let's start with the ship itself. One thing that's been reported in the news is it's a Singaporean flagged ship, and all that means is that the ship itself is registered in Singapore. Now, the ship registries, they happen all over the world. There are some places where they actually have requirements that you be a resident of the country where you register your ship, or there's certain requirements that have to be met. And then there's what they call flags of convenience, where you don't really have to do anything. You set up a paper company that's literally a piece of paper that sits on a lawyer's shelf somewhere. It's just one piece of paper that says, hey, you're a company and you own a ship. And that's most of the time you're going to find ships are owned by paper companies with no assets whatsoever. Why is that? Because it kind of limits your ability to claim against them. If they have no asset, the only asset they have is the ship itself. And so it sort of limits your ability to sue somebody that has zero assets. There's no way to recover unless you go through a big process that is usually not very successful, called piercing the corporate veil, which we don't really need to get into right now. But in places like Panama and Liberia, Vanuatu, and then even places like landlocked Mongolia has a ship registry. It's a huge part of their economy. And essentially, Mongolia registers the ship that nobody else will register. But Singapore, the Singapore registry is very, very strict, and it's very well monitored. But let's look at a little bit about the ship here. I'm going into my super special secret maritime lawyer database to get some information about it. It is, as I said, a Singapore flagged ship. It is 95,128 gross registered ton. Gross registered ton is the registered tonnage. It's just a little over 95,000 tons. That's a big ship. It's a container ship. I don't see on this particular readout how many containers that it can carry, but a lot, several thousands of containers can be carried on this ship. It's a big, big ship. It's owned by a company called Grace Ocean Pte Ltd in Singapore. So it is owned by a Singaporean company. And let's see if there's any other This is a good way. I can click a little button here and it will tell me something about the company. It will tell me what other ships the company owns. I'm guessing perhaps the answer to the question is going to be 0, because that would be a good indication that it's a paper company. So let's look at the registered owner, Grace Ocean PTE Ltd. The fleet info on that is, oh, they actually own a lot of ships. Holy crap! They own they own 55 ships. It looks like. Really? Yeah. Dang. So yeah, this is a legit company with a lot of assets. It looks like. I'm checking the information on another ship in the fleet just to cross check here. Yep. This is a big shipping company. Grace Ocean PTE in Singapore. They own 55 ships. Let's see what other information can we get about the ship from here on this one site. Let's see. We've talked a little, and it's managed by a company called Synergy Marine, also in Singapore. But you've heard we've talked about classification societies before. They're the companies that basically they inspect the ship and they determine whether or not your ship is seaworthy to sail. They give you tons and tons of certificates. You have to go through regular inspections and all of this other stuff. And that they're the regulatory body. Anytime there's an accident, they're some of the first people on the ship. And this is the classification society for this is Nippon Kaijai Kyokai. It's obviously a Japanese surveyor, and Nippon Kaijai Kyokai is also the. I'm assuming it's the Nippon Salvage, not Nippon Salvage. Yep, there we go. So it shows their last. Every 5 years they do this in-depth survey. The last renewal survey on this was April 20th of 2020, and the next one is scheduled for March 4th of 2025. They have all their certificates up to date. And we've talked about P&I clubs. They're the protection and indemnity clubs. They're the insurers of the ship for all intents and purposes. And this is Britannia Steamship. Britannia Steamship is one of the largest ship insurance companies on earth. I do a huge amount of work with Britannia Steamship. The unfortunate thing for Britannia in this case is it looks like it just insured the vessel. It just took over as the insurer for the vessel on March 4th. It's like 3 weeks ago they picked up the. It looks like about 3 weeks ago they picked up the insurance on the ship. That sucks. That's unfortunate for them. Welcome to the fleet, and then 3 weeks later, this accident happens. That's bad news. And then if I go to another dealer, it gives us a little bit about the dimensions. As I said, this is a big ship. Let me see if I can bring up this picture here. Where are we at? Open image in new tab. That's what we're doing. We're opening the image in a new tab. All right, let me show you what this ship looks like when it's not under a bridge. 444 people here. Hey, folks, I'm just giving you some basic information, going over some of the news that's already been gone over, and we'll keep you updated, especially probably next Monday on our next Maritime Monday. But here's no, I've embiggened that already. That's not what I wanted to do. Shoot. Yeah, let's close that and bring up the other screen that I did. There we go. This gives us the bigger view. This is a big ship. How big is this big ship, you ask? This big ship is it's 900 and I want to say 58 feet, 950. It's 300 meters long. It's about 1,000 feet long. It's 928, 958 something like that. It's 300 meters long and it's 48 meters wide. So that's 48 meters is what, about 160 feet? Convert 48 meters to feet. It's 157 feet wide. So 48 meters wide, 157 feet wide, 950 something feet long, 300 meters long. Big, big ship. Yeah, and I'm looking for some information about how many containers it can carry. 300 meters, the beam, the draft, we don't know, the year of build. It was built in 2015. So it's still a relatively new ship. And if you look here in the middle of the ship, right here where the cursor is, just to give you some idea of how big this is, that's the gangway. That's the ladder that you walk up to. They extend it down to the pier. So that's a good long section of ladder. And each of these containers on the ship is 20 feet long, and somewhere around 8. I'm not sure how tall a container is. Probably around 8 feet tall. It's about 8 feet high and 20 feet long. Let's see. Oh, the number of containers it can carry is locked behind a paywall. Let me do this. This ship is called the Dolly, by the way. We got the IMO number. Yes, we do. Dolly TEU capacity. Come on, somebody tell me how many containers this thing can carry. They're keeping all the important information behind a paywall. Oh, okay, there we go. The container ship Dolly, this ship here carries 10,000 containers. 10,000 containers this thing can carry. So that, I mean, the exact number is 9,971 containers. That's a lot. Close, Trish. It carries 10,000 containers, and it was built at Hyundai Shipyard, just about 45 minutes up the road from me. So this was built here in Korea, and that's kind of the basic information about the ship right now. Let's see. Any other thing pertinent that comes to mind here? Not really. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about the story itself. What happened? What do we know? So, some of you are probably just waking up and haven't seen this. Others of you have been probably following it all night. So I want to look at a couple of different news sources. The first one I want to look at is BBC. BBC's been covering this from the beginning, and they tend to be, I hate to say it, a little more fair and impartial than the U.S. news sites are. A ship this big will have a pretty significant contingent of crew. It's a container ship. I'm going to guess 30, 35. Let's see if we have a Manning, IMO conventions, labor organization. That's a good question. Dolly, number of crew. Nothing pops up real quick, and I don't want to delay this anymore, but I would say in 30s somewhere. Just a wild guess, somewhere between 30 and 40. Yeah. Okay, let's pull up the BBC news here. They've had an ongoing kind of live update as to what's been going on. And where's the Beebs? That's not the Beebs. Baltimore Key. There we go. This was 6:16. This was 4:16 my time, so it was 3:16 Baltimore time. 3:16 a.m. is when right around there is when the collision happened. A Baltimore City Fire Department spokesman said the bridge collapsed onto the Patapsco River after being hit by a vessel in the early hours this morning. And fast forward a little bit, around 1:30 a.m. local time, a caller reported an incident on the Francis Scott Key Bridge area. There's as many as 7 individuals and several vehicles have fallen into the river. The bridge has been struck by a vessel. We know that. And we're going to look at the video of it happen, video of this thing actually happening. But here's some stills. All lanes closed after the bridge collapsed. Yeah, that would make sense, seeing how the bridge doesn't exist anymore. The mayor is awakened, and he says he's aware of an en route to the incident on the Key Bridge. Emergency personnel are on the scene, and efforts are underway. There's no reports of casualties after, but of course there is now. Workers possibly in the water. Police say we'll see that there were workers in the water after the Key Bridge collapse. There was apparently a road construction crew working on the bridge at the time the accident happened. The Baltimore County Fire, this is the police chief, I believe. He's the executive. Okay, he's the Baltimore County executive. He says, I'm aware of the situation at the Key Bridge. Pray for everybody. You got a couple of super chats here that rolled in. Let me do these real quick before we get into the next section. Here's the bridge, by the way, in its normal condition. Mr. Mistopheles, I want to apologize. Being ship's therapy cat, I was distracting the captain. He was petting me. It got weird. I did not mean to cause the tragedy. Well, thank you very much. You just made it weird. We're actually talking about a pretty serious incident here. Thanks for the support. At least it was early in the morning. Yes, if this had been during rush hour, it would have been a much, much different story. Yes, I mean, thank God for small favors. The bridge is gone. What about the ship? It's heavily damaged. As of a couple of hours ago, they hadn't boarded the vessel yet, and we'll talk about why in just a little bit. But the ship, of course, is heavily damaged. As you'll see in the video, the bridge fell onto the ship, just like it did. If you remember, it may have been the first Maritime Monday we did. It was a Sky Bridge in the Tampa Bay area that was hit by a ship. Much like this, but it was during a storm and the bridge collapsed onto the ship. Same thing happened here. It was the Skyway Bridge. Yeah. Captain, we too left. Yeah. Thanks, Western Civilization. Yeah. We'll talk about the navigating situation of the ship here in just a bit. And Brian Alleman, what are the chances this leads to dredging the channel and getting the grain pier running again? Frank Saboka's dream lives. That's a good question. Right now, there's a couple of berths that are extremely deep water berths, which is like one of the places where this was berthed at, I believe. But right now, who knows what's going to come of this? Who knows what's going to change because of this accident? Thank you all so much for the super chats here. Thank you so much for the support. Again, this is all brand new. It's still ongoing. Live updates are still coming in as we're doing this. So this is a very, very live situation. So the bridge collapsed. This is the bridge, obviously before the collapse. It was for those of you that are not American or may not know, Francis Scott Key was he was the person that wrote the United States of America's national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. And the story goes he was on an enemy vessel watching the shelling of Fort McHenry from right about where the bridge is located. They named it after him. If you're just joining us, and this is a little bit after, if you're just joining us, we're bringing you live coverage of the Key Bridge in the U.S. city of Baltimore, which has collapsed. Oh, thanks. I didn't need that update there. There we go. A bridge in the city of Baltimore was hit by a large vessel, a very large vessel. 7 people and several vehicles fell into the water. They thought there might be more, but 7 is the number they're sticking with. Workers are possibly in the water. No official reports of casualties. There's the news that a mass casualty event came in, and the ship tracking data. We're going to show this on a different screen here in just a little bit. But essentially, the ship came along this line here. And you can see it's inbound. There's an inbound lane, and then there's an outbound lane here. We're going to talk about what all of that means here in just a little bit. The 300-meter long, the vessel is 300 meters long, and it was on its way to Colombo in Sri Lanka. On marine radars, the Dolly departed from the terminal at Port Breeze at around 12:45 a.m. It traveled towards the Francis Scott Key Bridge, but became stationary at the site of the bridge 45 minutes later. Air traffic radar show the police helicopters have been circling the area repeatedly. And we'll show you the footage here on a different screen. The vessel collided with the bridge around 1:30 local time. As many as 20 workers are in the river. So the numbers that they're not even sure, it could be 7, it could be 20, because as I mentioned, there was apparently a road construction crew working on the bridge, and you'll be able to see the lights of the worker vehicles when I show you the video. The bridge is gone. Witness shows the aftermath of the collapse. We have more footage now, this time taken by a witness in the aftermath of the Baltimore Bridge collapse. Panning his camera over the area where the bridge formerly stood, Bobby Guetta says, if you want to know what the bang was, a ship hit the Key Bridge. The bridge is gone. Holy hell.
I wanted to know what the bang was. Ship hit the Key Bridge, sinking. The bridge is gone. Holy hell.
It's not gonna stop for us. There we go. Now, this is the one thing the shipping company said. There's no injuries amongst the crew. The exact cause of the incident is yet to be determined. Okay, that's one thing I want to talk about real quick. I am honestly checking out of Twitter for a couple of days. I'm checking off Twitter for a couple of days. The only thing I'm going to be doing is updating my stream schedule, because already there's tinfoil hat buffoons out there saying this is all sus. They've already got their diagrams and their 3x5 cards with all the yarn going on it, proving how this was an intentional accident, an intentional act and not an accident. No, do not even start with that with me. I can't deal with the idiocy right now. Anyone that's suggesting that it is anything less than an accident just seriously needs to get some fresh air and knock it off. It's a terrible accident, and you know all the tinfoil hats, all the conspiracy shit you're gonna see. Just don't quote it, don't repost it, don't engage. Just let it die the sick, stupid death that it deserved. They don't think it's terrorism at this point. They never thought it was terrorism. There's no indication, and there never has been an indication that there was anything other than an accident. And it just pisses me off. There's a bunch of, tinfoil hat wearing scrubs on the internet that wouldn't know, which direction a ship was pointing if it was jammed up their backside. Thinks they know all about the navigation and how things work, and it's disgusting, it's despicable, and I think it just needs to stop. So don't engage, don't encourage, just let it go. Let me. Oh shoot! I'm so torn and conflicted as to what to talk about first here on this. This is an interesting point here too. Baltimore Port is the largest U.S. port for specialized cargo. Marine traffic is a pay site that you can use to track all of the ships on Earth and get all the where they're going next, where they've been. It's a very, very in-depth, very, very popular, I guess, in the shipping industry. It's sort of the standard for ship tracking companies. They shows a lot of congestion in the area around the bridge. Well, of course, the bridge is not, it's not going to be used for a very, very long time. And I have zero idea how this is going to affect ships entering and leaving the port. I mean, it's crazy the amount of damage this is causing here. It's estimated that around 800,000 vehicles pass through the port. Wow, in 2023, moving 1.3 million tons of imported cargo. And see, this is the sad thing. They've been searching and doing diving operations for a few hours, and the water temperature is below 10 degrees Celsius, which is what, about 45, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. There it is right there. 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Just should have read down. So they're hoping against hope that there's anybody there. Bridge support is a relatively flimsy structure. It's surprisingly, it's one of those things that takes a lot to damage a bridge, but also at the same time, not a lot. I mean, especially when you're running into it with a 95,000 ton battering ram. Here's the as the sun is coming up. Some of the early pictures you can see the bridge laying across the bow of the vessel here. The bridge did collapse onto the deck of the ship. The American Dreamer. The bridge was built in 1977, and I don't know the logistics of the port to know where the next accessible bridge is, but from the pictures I've seen, it looks like it's a very, very long way out of your way to get across the bay there. The FBI arrives on the scene. The National Transportation Safety Board, the Secretary of Transportation, they're all there on scene. Of course, the ship owner is fully cooperating. And this, we said it was owned by the Singaporean company that owns vessels. And what they do is they charter, companies will charter vessels. And what that means is they basically lease the vessel to another company. Maersk is one of, if not the largest shipping company in the world. They charter the ship, and you can charter them for a single voyage. You can charter them for a specific period of time. There's like voyage charter, there's a time charter. And you can say, we want to charter the ship for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever. And then they have bare boat charterers, which is essentially you just take over the vessel. It's not registered in your name, but you do everything. You basically treat it like your vessel for the number of years that you're bare boat chartering it for. And Maersk says, we're horrified by what has happened in Baltimore, and our thoughts are with all of those affected. We can confirm that the container vessel Dolly, operated by charter vessel company Synergy Group, is time chartered by Maersk and is carrying Maersk customer cargo. So what they're saying here is the Grace Ocean was the registered owner. Then they probably did a bareboat charterer to Synergy Group, who in turn subchartered it to Maersk. So it's like you lease a car from someone and then you rent it out to somebody else. It adds that no Maersk crew or personnel were on board. Okay, so that would indicate it was probably a voyage charter then, where they chartered it for one voyage from point A to point B. Because normally it could be a time charter too, I don't know. But if it's a bareboat charter, then they put all of their own crew on it. If it's a time charter or a voyage charter, normally the owner of the ship or the bareboat charter or the original bareboat charter, the head charter they call it, would be responsible for putting the crew on the vessel. Okay, now everybody's talking about what was the captain doing? Who's it? The captain was. I need to say this accurately. The captain is still the captain. He is still responsible for the operation of the vessel. But when the ship left the port, there were two pilots on board. It's the duty of the pilots to safely take the vessel out of port. In some places it's voluntary, some places it's mandatory. In Busan here, in Busan port where I am, it's mandatory pilotage. You're required Every vessel coming and going is required to have a pilot on board. The pilots are experts. They know every inch of that port. That's their job, to bring in captains and that do not know the port that well and get them safely in and get them safely out. It's the pilot that's giving the instructions to the crew while it's under pilotage. So it would be actually the pilot who is acting as the captain, telling everybody to reduce speed, to increase speed, what course to go, what course, how many degrees to change, and all the other important stuff. But the captain, the master of the ship, is still the guy in charge. He can step in at any time and override the pilot. Normally you follow the pilot, but here's the interesting thing. The interesting thing about pilots is they will have a pilot. There's like standard all across the world, these pilotage clauses. And one of the most standard clauses in a pilotage contract is that regardless of what happens, unless it was an intentional act by the pilot or an act that was so grossly negligent that it was nearly an intentional act, the pilot is automatically absolved of any liability for the accident. So it's a complete waiver of the pilot's liability unless it's an intentional act or an act so grossly negligent it's nearly intentional. So basically you can't sue the pilot of a vessel for damage, even if the pilot was negligent. And I'm not saying in any way that the pilots were negligent in this case. I'm just telling you generally what the pilotage clauses say. And we have a case ongoing right now where a pilot we're arguing was grossly negligent and should not be able to avail himself of the pilotage clause waiver for some actions that he did, bringing a particular vessel into berth here in Busan Port. But the pilotage waiver of liability clauses they're almost sacred for the pilots. So even if the pilot makes a mistake, he can't be held civilly liable for it. And it's that's just what you have to live with as a master. But again, I'm not saying that there was any negligence involved whatsoever. We just don't know. I'm going to show you the video here in just 1 second. The press officer handling communications for Synergy Marine Group, which operated the vessel that crashed into the bridge, tells BBC it was an all-Indian crew with 22 people on board. Okay. There we go. That answered the question. There's 22. It's less than I thought there would be for a ship that size. So there's 22 people, all Indians. Pat Adamson says there was a scratch on the head of one crew member, but no injuries. 2 members of the company's U.S. team are heading to Baltimore to investigate from Miami and Oklahoma. And Adamson said it was unusual to have an incident like this with 2 pilots on board, and it could have been caused by a myriad of reasons. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to show you the actual video of the incident. But first, let me bring this up. This is a better view of the course of the ship. Where are we here? Here we are. We've got 733 people here. Hey, everybody, I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here as we just sort of look at generally what happened. As I mentioned a few times now, we are so early on in this that nobody knows anything at this point. Everything you hear is going to be speculation, no matter where you hear it from. Here we have the ship leaves, and you'll notice that it's going downriver. It's making this U-turn here. It comes out of the berth at 0:44 Eastern time on the morning of the 26th of March, and they bring it around, and everything is going well until 1:25 Eastern time when the ship strays off course. And within 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes later, it collides with the bridge. Now we're going to look at the video of this happening, and there's some important things that happen right here. And for a lot of people that go, and again, I hate even bringing up all of these, these tinfoil hat, stupid conspiracy theories. Oh, it was intentional. It looks so suspect. We've got this because we saw that this happened and that. Look, let's walk through this, shall we? And I'll tell you why that's a crock of crap from the beginning. Let's stop that screen, bring up the video screen. And this is the Port of Baltimore video feed that caught it happening live. You're going to see the ship come in. Let me ensmallen myself. You're going to see the ship come in from the left side. It's going to come in from right over here on this side, and it's going to head towards the center there. And let me see here. Okay, here comes the ship. This is going to take about 2 minutes. Everything is going fine now. You can see the ship. It's got its running lights on. Everything is going cool. It's approaching the bridge. Now again, it's exiting port. It's going toward the ocean. And I'll talk here in just a quick second. Again, it's approaching the bridge here. Everything is still good to go. It's got all of its lights on. Everything is looking great, and it's coming sort of about a 45-degree angle to the screen here. And right there, the ship goes dark. That's a ship that's lost power. That's a bad thing. And remember, they said that the ship went off course at 125. And if you look up here in the corner, you can see that it's right here when the lights went out, it was 124 and 33 seconds in the morning. The lights go out, which means the ship has lost power, and it's a dead ship essentially. Nothing is working on that ship. And yeah, that's one thing I was going to point out when we watch this. You'll see on the bridge, like right about, you see the big red light in the center. Just below that and slightly to the right, you're going to see all of the construction vehicles with their yellow lights flashing, and there's the occasional car that just drives by. Well, it's slowed down because it lost power. I mean, it just quit. I mean, it's not like even the engine went out. They just lost all power. And that is the absolute worst nightmare. That's the absolute worst thing that can happen to you, is you lose all power. You can't steer, you can't stop, you can't do anything. You're just a dead ship in the water. And now the important thing to note here, a couple of the important things to note is this was right near low tide. The tide was still going out. The tide was going out, so the current is quite strong going the direction the ship is heading. So it's going to be going faster. When it happened, the ship was traveling, I heard, at 13 knots, which is about 24 kilometers an hour, about 15 miles an hour. About 15 miles an hour, about 24 kilometers an hour when it hit the bridge. And also there was a crosswind, so it's going to be pushing this ship. You got the wind, you got the current, and going with the tide. The ship was helpless at this point. So the lights have gone out. And I would imagine they're scrambling to get generators going. They're scrambling to try to restart the engines, try to get the power back on so they can restart the engines. This again, as I said, is an absolute worst nightmare. So we've got these lights coming on. So I think they've got the generators on, or at least the emergency lighting. So the lighting is starting to come back on. I said, whether that's the generator kicking in, whether they've got some sort of emergency power, it's there for a second. Sorry, you can hear the dogs chewing. Strawberry's chewing on a bone. And there the lights come back on. And I would imagine that if the lights have come back on, now they're going to be desperately trying to restart the engine. And I think there's a little bit of smoke come out there. But anywho, whatever they did to get things, now the we've got our masthead lights coming on. We got all the lights coming back on, which is a good thing. But at this point, okay, there we've got the smoke coming out. So the engines have started again. That's a good indication that the engines have started again or are in the process of being started. And this isn't like a car engine where you go and boom, and it fires up. It takes a while for these engines to start. And plus, you're moving at speed. You're 1,000 feet long. You're 300 meters long. You're this close to the bridge. You're 95,000 tons. It's too late at this point. At this point, it is too late. There is nothing that can be done to change the course of this ship in any really meaningful way. But again, that doesn't really matter because of what happens here in just a second. There's a lot of smoke pouring out. They're getting the engines going. And the lights go out again. They've essentially lost power again. And they remain dark until they hit the bridge. They never get the power back on. And this happens so fast. They're just about to clip the bridge here in a second. Oh, okay. I thought they didn't get the lighting back on again before, but I mean, at this point, what the hell are you going to do? You're just right there. I don't want to skip ahead too far. Yeah, it's good. You're gonna see it hit the bridge here in just a second. And this is real time. So again, notice that there's these cars running up here on the bridge. You've got the worker lights over here, and it hits the bridge. In just a second. I just don't want to skip and miss it. Because I know the second I touch the button, it'll miss. And they know what's going to happen. You know, they're most likely doing everything they can. You know, there's no more smoke coming out. I don't know if they just only got the lighting on and they couldn't restart the engines again or what, but there's a noticeable lack of smoke coming out of the smokestacks. And there we go. Look, if you look down here, you can see the impact in the water. Well, go back just a little bit here. Frames. Watch down here at the bottom of the ship. And there's the impact right there. And that's all it took. Ugh. That is just absolutely devastating. I mean, I'm utterly speechless with that. Let's watch that again. Right from this is 5 seconds before impact. Oh God. I have no idea how they're going to get ships in and out of that port for the foreseeable future. That's one thing I've got to look into to see what the options are. I mean, that's hellacious. And in case you're wondering, this is the live feed now. This is the daytime feed. I guess they're zoomed in on the bridge. That is just a mess. This is when the sun was just coming up. So you can see how big it is. There's these little tugboats down here, man. I guess that was the bridge pylon there. And remember, each one of these is 8 to 10 feet tall. Each one of these containers, and they're 20 feet long. The scale of this is just unreal. And like I'm saying, people are, you just like, he suddenly turned a 95,000 ton ship. Does not suddenly do anything. It can take you a mile or more to start a turn. And every ship has what's called a turning circle on the bridge, where it shows you the time it takes to do a complete 360 turn. And it's normally 25, 30, 35 minutes for a ship to make a complete turn. So yeah, these things they're not race cars. They're not F1 cars. They're just giant floating bricks. And I don't know. I'm assuming that the loss of power had something to do with it, but everybody's playing their cards close to their vest. Nobody's speculating at this point other than Spurgs on the internet. Yeah, this is the Port of Baltimore, Maryland live stream. It's just kind of like the forever stream, and they just happened to catch it. And there's a ton of people watching now. There's 10,000 people watching it now. So after this happened, yeah, we mentioned that at the beginning. It's a Singapore-owned company, a Singapore-registered vessel. It's it's flagged in Singapore. How much insurance is a ship like that required to hold? A lot. I mean, most of it is oil related, like oil spill pollution. I mean, a ship like that. I mean, it's like for oil spills, you're talking like $1 billion. For a large ship or more. But regular insurance, they have massive coverage, hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, several hundreds of millions of dollars of insurance. But there's something we've talked about a bit on these shows, and this is likely to come into play at some point. it's this antiquated, I guess is the good word for it. It's an antiquated legal theory of limitation of the ship owner's liability. And that's exactly what it means. There are laws all over the world that allow ship owners to limit their liability. There's whole international conventions on this, and it's a surprisingly low amount for personal injury and death, and there's a separate limitation scheme for property. It's depending. I should know this, but we're dealing with a case in Singapore where there's liability limitation involved. I can't remember what the Singaporean limitation of liability scheme is. I think they're part of the international convention, the 76 limitation convention, but it's essentially several $100s per ton of the ship. So it's not that much, but all the limitation stuff is a discussion for a much later date, but they are very heavily insured, especially if they're with Britannia. They're insured through Britannia Protection and Indemnity Club. They said they're one of the largest insurers on planet Earth. They've got the insurance coverage to handle whatever happens, essentially. What I want to do now, we'll read through these other super chats that have come in, and then we'll watch the press conference that was given right about dawn. And that'll kind of take us up to date. Kathy Mowry says Francis Scott Key was way back in my family. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's something to hang on to and to tell the kids about. Thank you so much. And thank you, Q Revere. Can't control what people think, just ignore it. Yeah, all the people are, yeah, this was definitely sus. They're on. How come there were no Jews on the ship? There's people out there spurging this stuff all over the place already. Just don't even engage them. Don't criticize them. Don't comment on it. Just let them die a sick, slow internet death, or let them just get so inbred with their own conspiracy community that you just get tossed out of it. And Torin3, hey, how you doing, brother? $5 super chat. Thank you so much. For some people, the terror that something like this can happen by accident is so great, they have to believe it was a mastermind by evil people, right? But most of the people are just stupid and think everything is an accident. I mean, everything is done by the government. The government doing stuff, or it's terrorists. It's just people that lack critical thinking skills, as far as I'm concerned. And 200-watt studio, thank you so much. Some pics show the steering wheel with nothing but a severed hand attached. Rumor, no, that's. No, I hope you're being funny. I hope that's not really a thing, because no, the only injury that any crew member suffered was a slight bump on one person's head. So yeah, that's I hope you're joking. I really hope that's not actually out there. Pro Engineer with the Australian $5. You mentioned that often these ships are registered to a paper organization, but this one had 55 ships. Is there a reason an org would choose to do that? Like to do a paper company is because, again, there's no assets to go against. But why would they have 55 registered ships? Because they're a huge mega corporation, and it does lend credibility to you size-wise. It does give you ocean cred to have a huge fleet registered to yourself. And it might, because it's registered in Singapore, it might be that it has to be registered to a real Singaporean company. Like in Korea, you cannot have a ship registered to a paper company. It has to be registered to an actual real company with a real office. So yeah, I believe, I'm not sure, this is just me going off of gut instinct, that Singapore also requires you to have an actual real company. So you sort of lose the benefit of that. That's my speculation. Tom Keith is a new member. Thank you so much for joining and being our newest member of the what is it? Which level are we at here? Probably the clean and sober crew. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Tom Keith. And Kiravir again. Why does your port sound something like my drunk uncle would say, and add 1967 to when, making me feel like my life experiences will never match his, asking for a friend. Why does your port sound like something my drunk uncle would add 1967 to? I don't know what that means, Q Revere. I'm sorry. maybe I'm not thinking clearly enough, but I don't know what that means. Sorry. I apologize for not being bright enough. Kat in Virginia, thanks for covering this, Jeff. You're welcome, and we'll let you know what the next updates are next Monday on our Maritime Monday. And we've got currently 886 people here. Thank you, everybody, for joining. You could be anywhere doing anything in the entire world right now, and I'm grateful that you chose to be here with me doing this. Do you think the crew started rescue efforts once they knew everyone was all right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, but the first thing they were probably doing, rather than doing the rescue efforts outside of the vessel, they were undoubtedly checking the status of their vessel, for oil spill, for other damage, things like that. Sinking, holes in the ship, things that could actually cause a bigger problem. That's the first thing they would be doing. And we're going to get to the press conference here real quick, and they'll tell you a little bit more about the rescue operations that were going on. 25% of East Coast coal exports go out of Baltimore. Ooh, that's rough. I guess it's a good thing winter's over, but might see a bit of an impact on electricity prices. Yikes. Horace Clopper 9000, I apologize on behalf of my country. Are you Singaporean? Or Bluvaro, member for 12 months. Thank you so much for being a member for 12 months. Congratulations on your 1-year anniversary with me, the Lorax, and Q Revere. My college was Busan 1967. Drunk uncle. Probably. I still don't know what you mean. My college was Busan 1967. Okay. Thanks. And Shade Chaser with the $5. Does a ship that size even have what the general population would think of as a wheel for steering? Yes. Yes, it'll actually have a standard wheel, a ship's wheel. Not like the big old sailing ships do. It'll have a nice little wheel. Some of them actually have joysticks, but most will have a wheel. There is big ships like that, especially new ones, are essentially space shuttles. And all right, thank you so much for that. For all of those comments, they actually do have little steering wheels. They're small. They're probably this big. What I want to do is show you the press conference now, and then talk a little bit more, and then we'll wrap it up. But they had a press conference right after this. The main speaker was the fire chief for the area, talking about search and rescue efforts. All right, let's do this. This is the
James Wallace. I'm the chief of the Baltimore City Fire Department. I'm joined this morning by our mayor, Brandon Scott, council president Mosby, councilwoman Porter, county executive Johnny Oshevsky, and Baltimore County Fire Chief Joanne Rund. Our brief this morning will be an update on the search and rescue operation that's ongoing at this point. So at approximately 0140 hours this morning, our 911 center dispatched a call to the Baltimore City Fire Department for a report of a water rescue in the Patapsco River in the area of the Key Bridge.
So I think it's interesting that they got reports of people in the water before someone mentioned that the bridge had collapsed. It's the amount. This seems to be like one of these things that you wouldn't be able to instantly wrap your mind around and articulate.
As units were responding, they began to receive numerous calls indicating multiple people in the water. At some point during that chain of events of calls, we began to receive indications that a ship may have struck the Key Bridge. We got further information through multiple calls that the Key Bridge, portions of the Key Bridge had actually collapsed. At about 0150 hours, our first unit arrived on scene and reported a complete collapse of the Key Bridge. We were also given information at that time that there were likely multiple people on the bridge at the time of the collapse, and that as a result, multiple people were in the water. We were able to remove 2 people from the water. One individual refused service and refused transport. Essentially, that person was not injured. However, there was another individual that's been transported to a local trauma center that is in very serious condition. At this time, we have multiple air assets from the Maryland State Police, as well as the Baltimore Police Department, as well as multiple marine assets from around the region, including Baltimore City, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, as well as multiple local and state police agencies, National Resources Police, BPD Special Ops Unit is in here, Maryland State Police is here. We have multiple resources. We are still very much in an active search and rescue.
So again, this is them just holding out hope. The water is like 48 degrees Fahrenheit, 9 degrees Celsius. They're still trying to find people. They've only found 2. As you said, one is injured and one declined medical treatment.
Posture at this point, and we will continue to be for some time. We have a large area that we have to search. This includes on the surface of the water, subsurface, as well as on the deck of the ship itself. We believe at this point we may be looking for upwards of 7 individuals. That's the latest information we have. However, what I will say is the information that I'm giving you right now.
Yes, the Coast Guard is there as well.
Right now, that's what we know
the
right now.
The Coast Guard is involved in the
this
rescue
is a
operation.
very large incident. It involves a very large footprint. Multiple agencies are operating. Therefore, information is subject to change as we get more intel and as our crews work through the morning. Over the next 8 to 12 hours, you can expect to continue to see our air and maritime assets functioning out on the water and in the air above. We need to do damage assessment of the ship itself before we can board that ship. And we need to continue our subsurface search, which is including different types of sonar. We have side scan sonar. We have other sonar capabilities here. We have underwater UAVs that we're working with. And throughout the night, we've also been working with infrared technology, both from the air and on the water surface. So I'm going to wrap up here with just saying this continues to be a search and rescue operation. It continues to be a very dynamic operation with multiple local, state, and federal resources involved. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our Mayor Brandon Scott.
Thank you, Chief. Everyone,
again, here's the mayor of Baltimore.
A tragedy. We have to first and foremost pray for all of those who are impacted, those families. Pray for our first responders and thank them, all of them working together, city, state, local, to make sure that we are working through this tragedy. This is an ongoing active research that we're having right now. We're going to continue, as you heard from Chief Wallace, throughout. As long as we have to be doing that, we will do it. But we have to be thinking about the families and people impacted,
right?
Folks who we have to try to find and save. This is what our focus should be on right now. We're going to continue to work in partnership with every part of government to do everything that we can to get us through the other side of this tragedy. And with that, I'll turn it over to County Executive Olszewski.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. I think we all awoke this morning to an unspeakable tragedy. As the mayor indicated, we know that there will be families and individuals impacted by this, regardless of what happens the rest of the way out. So I would just echo the mayor in lifting up prayers for those who are impacted, but also ask that our residents pray for our first responders. They have been on scene since very early in the morning.
Look at how big that ship
not
is,
only
man. That is
conducting
so big.
initial search and rescue operations, but planning for additional ones as the sun comes up. And the work that they do cannot be understated. And I want to just thank them for all that they are doing and will do in the hours and days ahead. We know that we have a long road ahead, not just in the search and rescue, but in the fallout following this. I think we appropriately have our attention on the search and rescue efforts currently, and just here alongside our partners in the city to say that they have our full support, just as we want to thank our state partners for the resources they've offered up, as well as the federal partners who have already reached out. The mayor and I have talked to the governor. We've heard from the Secretary of Transportation. So collectively, we thank everyone for their thoughts, their well wishes, But again, this is a very active situation, and we want to just thank the chief and our teams for all the great work they're doing. And with that, I'll turn things back over to the chief.
Thank you, County Executive Olszewski. We're going to do some Q&A right now. Now we're just going to go
All right,
around.
there's actually some very interesting questions asked, and only two
Chief,
stupid
can you
ones.
tell us where the crew of the ship is? You also mentioned, too, that 2 people were rescued. Who made the first 911 call? And there were reports that it was a crew on the deck of the ship working at that point. Can you confirm any of that information?
Latest information we have on the crew of the ship is that they are still on board the ship. There's been comms between the ship crew and the Coast Guard. So as part of the overall operation, we communicate through the Coast Guard with the ship. And I'm sorry, your other questions?
There were 2 people taken. Who made the first 911 call?
I don't know who made that call yet.
Okay, and were there other workers on the deck of the ship at this, or deck of the bridge at this point? We had heard that information. Can you confirm that?
We were being told there were workers on the bridge. We have yet to confirm that. We'll work with MDTA.
Well, we think we saw
obviously to get that information.
About how many cars were on that ship? Last question.
On the bridge.
On the deck of the bridge at the time it collapsed. You know that?
Don't have a number. I can tell you our sonar has detected the presence of vehicles submerged in the water. I don't have a count of that yet.
So again, he's the fire chief guy. He's doing the search and rescue, so he's not going to have all of the information about the investigative issues. He's not there to investigate the accident. He's there to save lives.
Chief, you mentioned upwards of 7 individuals that you're looking for. We've heard reports of as many as 20 individuals. Can you just paint a more clear picture of about how many people actually fell into the water, how many people you might be looking to rescue, and also if you can give an idea of how many vehicles, although you might not have the answer, but really just the circumstances.
Yeah, I'll start with the last one. So I don't know how many vehicles yet. I know that we have detected the presence of vehicles. As far as the number between the 7 and 20, that's been a dynamic count throughout the morning, just given the fact that we haven't yet nailed that number down. We do believe that at least 7 are involved in that, at least 7 at this point.
That fell into the water.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I know you said the crew was accounted for the Coast Guard on deck. Do we know if any of the crew members were part of these at least 7 people that may have been in the water?
We do not.
Can I just ask, survivability in waters around this temperature is not very long. At what point do you...
So he's asking, if you didn't hear, he said the water temperature is cold. How long are you going to continue searching?
So we'll be guided by our dive teams. We will determine what the temperature of the water is. The other issue that we have out there is this water is current influenced. So right now we think the tide is coming back in. That adds a bit of a challenge to us also. We can certainly dive in these conditions, but we have to take a lot of factors into play, right? The fact that there may be trauma involved, they have been in the water an extended period of time, but also remember we're battling darkness. So, it's quite possible that we may have somebody there that we've not seen yet. And as they work closer to the debris field, they'll obviously make those determinations. But we're going to rely on the experts, which are our dive masters that are here, our dive team, to tell us when they believe we've reached that non-survivability point.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Janine?
Chief Wallace, was there any indication that there was a problem on the ship? Was it led in by tugboats at any point?
So she's asking if there's any indication there was a problem on the ship.
So far early on, point you to something.
Again, he doesn't know.
We do not have that information with regard to the investigation.
We got to watch the lights go out, so clearly there was some kind of problem on the ship. But he hasn't sat down and watched the video yet. He's saving lives, so that's people are like, how come he's denying it? We all saw it. He didn't see it. He got there and he's been saving lives since then. He hasn't sat down and watched the video. That's not his job.
I would refer that to law enforcement. My focus since 1:40 this morning has been that rescue operation.
So far there's been no indication that any kind of like an emergency dispatch came from that ship beforehand?
I have no information about that, ma'am.
Have you been able to talk to the pilot, the American pilot on that bridge?
The pilot on the vessel?
Yeah.
We have not talked to the pilot on the vessel. The rescue personnel, the rescue operation, we have not interacted.
That would be the Coast Guard.
Can you tell us about the victims that were
I don't have age and
Sorry, again.
I'm sorry.
Update on the condition as well.
Yeah, I don't have age and gender on either. One patient refused service, right? Really, they weren't injured. The second patient, however, was seriously injured and is at an area trauma center.
Are you including them in the at least seven people?
We don't know yet if they're part of that 7.
Okay.
The patient is injured severely enough that we've not been able to debrief that patient.
That 7 number, did that come from people witnessing cars going down? Like, where did that number come from? Or is that just from the sonar hits that you got?
No, that was the initial information that we got as we were arriving on the scene, that number. And that number, again,
She's asking where they got the
earlier,
number
has
of cars that fell into
right?
the ocean, if you didn't hear.
That
Fell into
7
the river, sorry.
has been a consistent number.
How many agencies are here assisting right now with this
Oh, wow.
recovery?
Yeah, dozens. I mean, locally, fire department wise, Baltimore County's here, Howard County's here, Hartford was here, PG was here, Anne Arundel, of course, Baltimore City. And a lot of those agencies are here by virtue of the fact that they may have specialized equipment that we need during an incident like this. So we're bringing in the equipment specific to the operation right now. And then even law enforcement agencies have a lot of the same marine ops equipment as we do. So given the incident is so big, we try to force multiply and just bring as many resources in as we can so that we can really blanket a large area for a search.
What about the fuel spill? What kind of resources are you bringing in to mitigate that?
We've not been able to confirm that we actually have an active fuel spill from the vessel.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's the one thing the ship would have done very, very quickly was see if there was a hole in their hull, and if they were leaking oil, and then they would do whatever they could to stop spilling oil. There's going to be some oil spill just by the virtue of the collision and things. But is he saying here there was some diesel fumes?
We've had odors of diesel fuel. The Maryland Department of the Environment is here, as well as the Coast Guard. So they would take leads on that as well. We hope as the sun comes up a little bit with the air assets that are up to get a much better picture, if we do have a fuel spill, what the impact has been so far.
Talk about the air assets that are up as the daylight comes up. How's that going to impact that with those resources?
Yeah, Maryland State Police has been here. Foxtrot is also working this. There are 2 air resources right now. I don't know that we won't bring any more in, but right now they're the 2 primary. Air reconnaissance on something on the open water it's an invaluable resource. And we've been very fortunate to have it because as we put people out in the dark on the water to conduct searches, they have that degree of overwatch from those assets. So it's been an invaluable resource for us.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Executive, we're talking about search and rescue. I know that, and that's where the focus is right now. I was awakened with this news. We're all awakened with this news. I've seen the video. What do you make of the totality of this incident? What are you thinking about what you've seen and what this community's experienced now?
Well, this is a tragedy that you can never imagine, right? And I was awake when Chief Wallace called me, but never would you think that you would physically see the Key Bridge tumble down like that. It looked like something out of an action movie. And you just think about, most importantly, and which is what we all should be thinking about right now, nothing but those families and people that are impacted, and those people who are risking their lives right now from not just Baltimore City and Baltimore County, but all over this state to try to save lives. That should be our focus, the preservation of life, because no one wants to see that happen, let alone someone in their family, someone that they know be injured in an incident like this.
We'll take 2 more questions. Your thoughts about what this community's experienced this morning.
Look, I think that folks are stunned. I think folks are reeling.
Got a couple more minutes and they'll be done.
True for people who are worried about their loved ones right now. I think there'll be plenty of time to talk about what this bridge means to the community, what it means for commerce. But at the end of the day, right now, this is about the humanity of people who are impacted and the men and women who are out there trying to save lives and recover folks off the bridge. So I think there'll be plenty of opportunity to talk about that. But really, right now and for the foreseeable hours ahead, this is really about focusing on the search and rescue efforts. And I want to just again thank the chief for his leadership and for all of the affiliated partners that we have working on this.
Chief, I know there's like the fact that this
And of course, we got the you can't end without a stupid question.
could have been intentional, that this could be some kind of act of terrorism or intentionally.
The terrorism question.
That's not my focus here, ma'am. That's part of the law enforcement investigations. I would defer to the proper authorities for that.
And actually saw something similar to this happen in Philly when 95 came, a portion of that came down. I know you said that you guys have spoken to Secretary of Transportation, I'm assuming Pilotage. Has he made any comment about the assistance of the saw in Philly being rushed through to get this taken care of?
No, thank you. I spoke with Secretary Buttigieg directly. He and his team said that they're going to obviously work with us throughout this incident and work with not just the city and county, but really the state of Maryland to make sure that we have every resource that he and the federal government can provide.
How long is it going to take to rebuild this, Mayor?
I think right now, sir, listen.
See, what is stupid? How long is it going to take to rebuild this? Do you think that's even a question that anybody standing there on that other side of the microphone is concerned with? Sometimes I really hate reporters.
We shouldn't
It's like you don't have to ask stupid questions.
be having that discussion right now. The discussion right now should be about the people, the souls, the lives that we're trying to save. There will be a time to discuss about a bridge and how we get a bridge back up. But right now, there are people in the water that we have to get out, and that's the only thing we should be talking about.
To go back to the question about the terrorism, there is absolutely no indication that there's any terrorism, that this was done on purpose. Our criminal intel is working with the FBI and other federal state agencies.
My God.
Get all the intel that we have, but there's absolutely no indication that it was intentional.
All right, that's the end of the press conference. So the latest news, and here we've got 903 people here watching now. 917 had just updated. Thank you everybody for being here. And please, this is what we do every week. We do a Maritime Monday stream, and if there's incidents like this, we break into the regular programming we do because that's what I do. The main part of the huge bulk of the vast majority of my job is dealing with maritime matters. I'm a lawyer licensed in Utah. I've been living in Korea, practicing with the firm here. I've been working for a maritime law firm here for 28 years. So this is what I do. This is my wheelhouse, the maritime aspects and the legal side of things. So join us for a Maritime Monday. We talk about maritime accidents and disasters and things like that, amidst other legal issues. But I saw some chat about people were talking about the condition the ship is in right now, and what does the ship look like? What the front of the ship looks like? I went to the section of the live video that shows the ship right now. And I mean, you can see where the bridge is falling across. It's taken out several rows of containers, and this big chunk here is just ripped out of the front end. I guess that's where it hit the pylon, and I mean the front of the ship is just dug out, and the bridge is laying across the top of it. The ship's not going anywhere for a very, very long time. And the latest news reports we have are that there's about 40 ships, including 34 cargo ships, that currently have Baltimore listed as their destination. That's according to marine traffic that tracks the ships around the world we were talking about. And it's expected there to be like a ripple effect, but it's too early to say what the impact will be. Said the global shipping analyst for marine traffic. So there's still a number of ships that are en route. Now they've got to go somewhere else. They've got to find another port to go to, the closest port that can handle them. The shipping is going to be hugely disrupted. The Federal Aviation Administration, they've issued a no-fly order in the area around the Key Bridge so that rescue workers can continue to search for survivors and do other things they need to do. There's been the helicopters from the various authorities flying over, and the FAA has explicitly warned people to keep drones out of the area. And scrolling through other news stories here, the port has been shut down. The Port of Baltimore officials, they've announced that traffic in and out of the port has been suspended, but they're still processing trucks. They're still the cargo that's been offloaded from other ships. They're still shipping out. They're still bringing in trucks with cargo loaded for ships that hopefully will get out of port at some point. The ripple effect of this is just going to be huge, and it's going to take months, if not years, to sort all of this, the logistics out. This is going to, as they said, it's going to have huge ripple effects. Someone said there's a press conference going on right now. Baltimore Port press conference. Okay. Yeah, it looks like there is a what's it going on, a press conference. That's what they're called. Can we not hear the video? People are saying we can't hear the video. I'm sorry. Why can't we hear this? Oh, I know why we can't hear this. All right, I apologize. God, this 3 hours. No. I know why. I need to do this here. I could hear it fine, and I was busy looking at other news stories, so I didn't see you all screaming at me for a few minutes. Hope you all enjoyed watching me just smiling there at me. I apologize. Let me bring this back up, and I'll back it up to the beginning of the press conference. Shit. Sorry. That's why you all need to subscribe and get me up to like 1 million bajillion subscribers so that I can hire someone to do all the technical stuff for me. I need a producer that handles stuff so because I'm shit at multitasking. Let's see. All right. This should solve that problem. There we go. Yes, it does. And I'm going to go back to the beginning of the press conference. Looked like it started. Oh, I guess we didn't miss much. Cool. Wow. We got right in on it. So, all right, here we're going to go back to the beginning of the press conference. Now you can hear. Thanks, people, for pointing that out. I apologize for that few-minute delay that I was listening to it, and I was assuming you were all listening to it as well. So I was pulling up other articles and things. Apologies.
Thank you all for being here. This morning, our state is in shock, and I want to take this moment to speak directly to the people of our state. To our first responders, I'm in awe of you. I'm in awe of your courage. I'm in awe of your strength. I'm in awe of everything you do for each and every one of us. You saw a crisis, and you said, what can I do to help? And our response teams are doing everything in our power to rescue and recover the victims of this collapse, literally as we speak. People who, as we speak, are out there, are divers, are air assets, people who right now are working to save lives. and are doing it because the state asked. And we will update the public as the work continues. To our partners inside and outside of government, I know this has been a long night. We started coordinating immediately after the Key Bridge collapse. We've been standing together every step of the way, from our county leadership, to our city leadership, to our state leadership, to our federal leadership. And I'm grateful to call each and every one of you not just colleagues, but I'm grateful to call you friends. And to the people of Baltimore, and each and every one of the 6.3 million Marylanders who call our state home, I recognize that many of us are hurting right now. I recognize that many of us are scared right now. And so I want to be very clear about where everything stands. We are still investigating what happened, but we are quickly gathering details. The preliminary investigation points to an accident. We haven't seen any credible evidence of a terrorist attack. Our administration is working closely with leaders from all levels of government and society to respond to this crisis, and not but just by addressing the immediate aftermath, but also by building a state that is more resilient and a state that's more safe. That is our pledge, and that's our commitment, and we're going to keep that commitment. And lastly, to the victims of this tragedy and their loved ones, all of our hearts are broken. We feel your loss. We're thinking of you, and we will always be thinking of you. We pray for the construction workers who are on the Key Bridge, and we pray for everyone who has been touched by this tragedy and their families and all of their loved ones. But Maryland, we will get through this, because that is the Maryland spirit, and that's what Maryland is made of. We are Maryland tough, and we are Baltimore strong. So in the face of heartbreak, we come together. We embrace one another, and we come back stronger. That's what we've always done. That's what we'll continue to do. And that's what we're going to get done together. And we're going to pray for Baltimore. And I'd like to turn this over to Senator Van Hollen, who's done a remarkable job in our fellow delegation in providing support. So thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Governor. As the governor said, we come together. We come together in Baltimore. We come together in Maryland. First of all, our hearts go out.
I'm seeing some of the questions here in chat. I'm starring some of them, and we'll get to those in the super chats after this press conference is finished.
Gratitude goes out.
So don't go away,
first
people.
Responders, who, as we speak, are out there continuing to conduct search and rescue operations. I want to thank the governor, the mayor, county executive, all the people gathered here as part of Team Baltimore and Team Maryland. And the federal government is with them as a partner. The Coast Guard, as we speak, is also part of this mission. Coast Guard cutters, Coast Guard aviation assets. I spoke twice today with Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg has pledged that they will do everything they can to very quickly release emergency response funds for this important project.
Hey, thanks, Mo, in the deep end, for sending your peeps over here for the raid. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons.
On his way to Baltimore, if he's not here already. They will be releasing those early funds once all the parties are fully engaged. Second, the National Transportation Safety Board. I talked to the chair this morning. She and her team will be conducting an investigation.
Okay, that answered some of your questions right there.
And finally, the Army Corps of Engineers, naval assets for looking below the surface and clearing. All of this is going to be part of the effort. The governor is leading Team Maryland, the mayor and the county executive, of course, Team Baltimore. But I'm just here to say, together with Ben Cardin, Senator Cardin, and Congressman Fume and others, the federal government is your partner in this effort. Thank you. And again, to the people of our state and the people of this great city, We're with you. We love you. We will get through this together. Thank you, Governor.
Good morning again, Paul Wiedefeld, Secretary of Transportation. Just a few updates since
Okay,
this morning.
here's our transportation secretary.
The crew that was out there
By ours, I mean the United
basically
States.
repairing potholes, just so you understand that had nothing to do with a structural issue at all on the facility. At this time, one person has been rescued, and so far, and our efforts continue in terms of that. Engineers are on site right now, determining both some of the structural issues, obviously some of the debris field, and we'll start to work that, but we'll work hand in hand with the NTSB before we take any further action in that area. With that, I did want to introduce the FBI for a few comments as well.
That's the most FBI-looking guy
My name is
ever.
Bill Del Bagno. I'm the special agent in charge of the Baltimore field office. First and foremost, I want to say that our hearts go out to
This is a
everyone that is
poster
impacted
child
by
for an
this tragedy,
FBI agent.
especially the victims and their families. On behalf of the FBI, I would like to say that we are with you, we're with Baltimore, and we're with the partners every step of the way. The FBI, on very first looking at and assessing this matter from an investigative standpoint, I want to be clear that there is no specific or credible information to suggest that there are ties to terrorism in this incident. The FBI has been part of this response from the beginning. We came within 1 hour to the command post and quickly lashed up with our very strong partners all along the way. We will bring whatever resources that the FBI has to bear. We've already brought our crisis response, our victim services, and just recently,
Matthew Daly. I was literally going to say this guy has Mormon missionary vibes. A huge number of FBI agents are
and we will continue
are former Mormon missionaries.
as long as it takes.
I was actually going to make that comment.
And as the investigation goes on, we will take it to its logical conclusion along with our partners. To the people of Baltimore, to the public, I ask you to be patient as we go through this and as information becomes available to us. And lastly, I want to say thank you. Thank you to our partners. Thank you to everyone who in the FBI and counts on the FBI. We will always bring what we need to the people of Baltimore, and we are with you. I'd next like to introduce the Coast Guard.
Everybody's going to get a say
Coast
here.
Guard is still actively searching at this time. We are using response boat crews from 2 of our local Coast Guard stations, one of our helo crews from an air station in Atlantic City, and also one of our cutter crews on one of our 87-foot patrol boats. We will continue to work with our local, state, and federal partners during this tragedy. Thank you.
Wow, that was brief. That was to the point. Yikes.
Governor, as far as you are aware, was the collapse of that bridge inevitable as that ship hit that part of the bridge?
No, we're still in the process of investigating exactly what happened. So we don't have any further details about whether or not it was inevitable or not.
No structural issue with the bridge?
No, there was. In fact, the bridge was actually fully up to code, so we have no further information about.
It was hit by a 95,000-ton battering ram, lady.
Completely, and do you have any estimate very early on as to how long it will be before shipping can resume to the Port of Baltimore?
Yeah, we don't have any estimates on timeline because right now our exclusive focus is on saving lives. Our exclusive focus is on search and rescue.
Could you give us a better sense for the number? Because we've heard, I know Mr. Wiedefeld said one had been rescued, but earlier from Baltimore we heard that 2 have been rescued. Can you tell us the total numbers we're talking about that maybe that you're searching for, and how many have been rescued?
Well,
There are 8 individuals. 6 are being searched for right now. 1 is was taken to the hospital, and 1 is not in the hospital that we're speaking to.
So 6 unaccounted for.
Yes.
And does that involve
Only 6 unaccounted for. That is a freaking miracle.
We believe it's a construction crew.
So we don't think there's anyone in vehicles.
No, we do not believe so.
Okay, we'll take questions right here. Take this question here.
Governor, 2 questions. How quickly did you find out about what happened here? What was your reaction when you heard the scale?
Got to admit, the governor looks like a badass.
I think it was probably within minutes of everything, less than an hour, when I know that my phone first rang. And, first from the mayor of Baltimore and also from our chief of staff. And it was, we know the Key Bridge. I've ridden over the Key Bridge countless times. So many of us know the Key Bridge because it is our normal commute. This is a place that is a normal commute route for over 30,000 Marylanders every single day.
Jeez.
And so to hear the words that the Key Bridge has collapsed, it's shocking and heartbreaking. And immediately the first thought and the first ideas go back to what happened to the people, what was the impact on human life. But for every single one of us who are Marylanders, the words that the Key Bridge is gone, it still shakes us, because for 47 years, that's all we've known. And so this is not just unprecedented from what we're seeing and what we're looking at today. It's heartbreaking.
Governor, can you confirm that the crew on the ship alerted authorities that it had lost propulsion and was in trouble?
We can confirm that the crew notified authorities of a power issue. Yes.
So, somebody remind me to talk about that when we're done. Something about looking for 6 people.
Total of 8. Excuse me. A total of 8. 1 rescued in hospital. 1 not in hospital, but it has, we have communicated with that person, and then 6 that we are searching for.
And all construction workers working on the butthole? Was all 8 of them?
Yes, they were all related to the construction program. Yes.
We heard that multiple vehicles went into the water. Any word on how many vehicles went into the water and the condition of those people that were in the vehicle?
Not at this time.
All right, we'll shift over here.
Was there any way to shut down the bridge? Was there enough time for that distress call to trigger something like that?
The thing that we know is that even as the boat was coming in, we had a ship that was coming in at 8 knots, so coming in at a very rapid speed. We do know that the investigation is currently going on, but I have to say I'm thankful for the folks who once the warning came up and once notification came up that there was a mayday, who literally, by being able to stop cars from coming over the bridge, these people are heroes. They saved lives last night.
Governor, the focus is on rescue now and humanity. But looking forward, is there any vision for how long it could possibly take to remove the wreckage, to rebuild, how it could possibly be done? Can you look into the future at all at this point?
This is going to be a long-term build. It's going to be a build that's going to require every facet and every aspect of our society. It is something that I can tell you, we are going to get this done. We are going to make sure that this is not just rebuilt, but that we are going to rebuild in a way that remembers the people who this tragedy has impacted, and also
And that's like they did with the Skyway Bridge. They rebuilt it with kind of a built-in memorial.
Right now, I could not give you any form of estimate on timing or cost. Right now, my and all of our exclusive focus is we're just trying to save lives.
Can the mayor talk on the state of emergency locally, please?
Yes, thank you. Listen, we know the governor issued a state of emergency, but we at the local level felt the need to do that too, because there may be some things that we have to encumber with our fire department and other agencies that we'll be able to pull down support for as we all work together, again, as we're focused right now on saving lives.
Wow, Tank Rat, thank you, brother. We'll get to you in a minute.
In the interim, I know that there's obviously the focus is on the rescue and the recovery.
Thank you, Tank Rat. Thank you, brother. Pretty seriously.
Thoroughfare here in Baltimore for drivers, people trying to get around. How are they going to be able to manage while that is also going
Yeah, the infrastructure
so
logistics
we've
is going to be
also
crazy.
already been in touch with people about alternative routes and ways people can navigate now that this tragedy has happened. And I don't know, Secretary, if you want to switch that as well.
Just to give you a sense of scale, roughly about 35,000 people, they use that facility. About double that use the Harbor Tunnel, and double that again use the Fort McHenry Tunnel. So basically, we have those two other options. We'll make sure that we have as much.
There's going to be some traffic
personnel
jams
out there
for
to deal with any
ever.
incidents, because as you know, that can cause the backups very quickly. And we will basically put out a lot of communication on different alternatives. We're also looking at transit alternatives as well.
What role will the legislature play in this response? What role will the legislature play in this response? Are there any policies, any state funding that's going to be freed up in the coming weeks?
Yes, that was the mayor. This is the governor.
In fact, we have our Senate president here. We have members of the legislature here. The legislature is going to have a role in all of this, as will our local elected officials, as will state officials, as will the federal government. Everybody is going to have a role in terms of how we think about the rebuild.
Governor, how long do you expect shipping to be closed down through the port?
He just said they don't know.
In terms of the port here?
We don't at this point. We don't at this point.
Are going in or out at this time?
Correct. Yeah, we don't have an estimate on timeline as of
He
yet.
already
Our
answered.
focus
Asked
really is right
objection.
now to
Asked
make
and
sure we're
answered.
safe.
One last question.
Did that person die in the hospital? Are they able to get out at all or no?
I'm sorry, say it again.
The ships that are, the vessels that are currently docked at the port, are they able to get out or no?
The one that's captured under the is that
Still at port.
Oh, yes, that one's still at port. Yes.
We'll take one
Governor,
last
one last
question.
question. What's the ship being guided out by tugs, firstly? And secondly,
No.
did you just say that it issued a mayday in enough time that you were able to stop all traffic from entering both sides, so that the only casualties we expect are the workers on the bridge?
Yes, ma'am. So the investigation is still going on. So we're going to have all the full details and also all the full details about the timeline and the TikTok that took place. But we're thankful that between the Mayday and the collapse that we had officials who were able to begin to stop the flow of traffic. So more cars were not up on the bridge. And
wow.
Some on the bridge.
That's big.
Were there any
during the collapse?
Yeah, were there some on the bridge? There have been reports that have been sonar that have detected vehicles at the bottom of the water. So as well as the 8 people, there could still be people trapped inside or potentially have died in vehicles. Is that correct?
No, I think, well, the investigation is still going on to find out exactly how many people in what situation. But the thing that we do know is that many of the vehicles were stopped before they got onto the bridge, which saved lives in a very, very heroic way.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. We'll have another update later. Thank you.
This is a huge detail. We don't know how to use it.
David, any thought on time?
Thank you all.
Chris speaking.
All right, let me mute that, and I'll just pull this off, and I'll keep watching to see if there's any other developments in there. That last question was a huge answer. That they were able to get a communication, they were able to let them know they were having these problems, the power issues, and I thought there was no way they would have had time to stop traffic on the bridge. But I mean, that's huge that the governor said they were able to stop traffic between the time they got the Mayday and the ship. That was some very, very quick response. That's amazing. There's been a huge number of super chats that have come in that I really want to get to here, and then there's several issues that I want to talk about. And somebody please, if I don't talk about the ship VDR system immediately after reading the super chat, somebody just scream VDR at me because that's important. Okay, Q Revere says a Vietnam reference. Jeff, lol, sorry, that was so long ago. I don't even know what we're talking about. I'm just missing all your references today. I can't even remember what you said. I'm so sorry. That was so long ago. It was 45 minutes ago. I'm so sorry. It's just such an active situation. I wasn't able to stay on top of the super chats, and I hate when my super chats don't get read. So I know how you guys feel when there's a huge delay between when you send the super chats and when they get read. And I just want to apologize for the delay in this here. Project Metal Music, how you doing, brother? Member for 12 months. Hey Jeff, thank you for covering this. I take it that you were doing updates as they come in. If there's any significant updates, then I'll upload a short video, and one of the YouTube shorts. we'll talk about it again, the current state for next Monday on our normal Maritime Monday. For those of you that are just joining and this is your first time and you have no clue who I am, I'm essentially a maritime lawyer. I live in Korea. I'm from Utah. I'm licensed in Utah. I've been in Korea here with the same firm, maritime firm, for 28 years. Every Monday, I do a Maritime Monday stream, in addition to the normal streams that I do, which cover everything. Tomorrow we're gonna be doing a federal lawsuit filed by a kid that was abused by police officers. We were doing retro trials on Thursday. We do a lot of things, but every Monday is a Maritime Monday, and we'll be talking about this as long as there's information to talk about. Yeah, thank you so much for being a supporter for 12 months. And T-Bon, thank you so much, T-Bon. Thanks for covering. So glad I was able to catch this live. You always have such good information. I tried. It's all anecdotal. It's all just based on my experience and whatnot, because this is so fresh and so ongoing that you all know exactly what I know. I'm just trying to provide some sort of collector, some sort of news feed collector here for what's going on. Pinochet's helicopter tours. Thank you. Like when the CIA had Van Owen take out Roland. Oh, you're such a skeptic. You're such a cynic, Pinochet. Glad to have you here, brother. Music and Fiction. Thank you so much for the $2. This is the Skyway Bridge incident all over again. Very, very similar conditions. Really, the only big difference is one, the Skyway Bridge involved. This took place in Florida in the, I want to say 78, something, I believe. I can't remember the date the Skyway Bridge incident down in Tampa happened, but that was during a storm, and they were off course. So this was in decent weather, and there was a power outage. But essentially, it's the same accident all over again. Yeah, it's a big thing. Like I've mentioned a few times, a 95,000-ton ship plows into a bridge support at a pretty good clip for a ship, right around 10, 12 miles an hour, so it's right around 18, 20 kilometers an hour. That's actually pretty damn fast when you get the ship. Okay, I should say the ship itself weighs 95,000 tons. Onto that, you have to add 10,000 containers, and however much weight is in those containers. This could be, I mean, you could have another 100,000 tons there. This could be, 250,000 tons essentially. This is a big ship with massive. And for those of you that are joining, this ship is 300 meters. It's almost 1,000 feet long. It's 45 meters wide, 42, 45 meters wide. It's about 45 meters, 150 feet across. This is a massive ship that carries 10,000 containers. So yeah, the ship itself weighs 95,000 tons. Then you have to add on all of the steel from the containers, plus all of the fuel, plus, I mean, we're talking tons and tons and tons of fuel, all the weight that's inside of this containers. There is a massive amount of weight that, with the inertia from the speed plowing into that bridge, I would go with it. It was an inevitable collapse. You just have so much force behind it. Thank you so much for that, Music and Fiction. Appreciate that. Vince Clortho, will the NTSB determine the cause? FBI, Coast Guard? Yes, all of the above. The NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, they will be the primary investigators, and that investigation could take a year. It could take a long time. There might be some preliminary reports. The Coast Guard is going to be doing one. The FBI probably has to do a cursory investigation. The Army Corps of Engineers is going to be probably looking at the stability of the bridge, looking at the structural issues. There's going to be a massive amount of inspection going on. People from the shipping company are going to be conducting their own inspections and their own investigations. The insurance companies are going to be doing there's going to be a massive number of investigations that go into this case. And thank you. And Island, thank you so much for your support. Dumb question. Can bridges be built with zones preventing failure of one portion to cause total failure, like crush zones in a car? I don't know, but I doubt it. Bridges are sort of these things that are kind of connected together, and one part goes. I mean, it can shear off. You get lucky, but it's still going to affect the stability of the bridge as a whole, likely. I just don't know. I'm not an engineer, but gut tells me no. So there might be some engineers here in chat that can tell us one way or the other. But I don't think that would sort of be possible to have like a detachable section, like, there's been a big shock here, let's just drop this section and make. I don't think so. But engineers, calling the engineers in chat. I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about in this regard, so it's up to you. 200 Watt Studio, thank you so much for your support. Final stupid question: when will the containers be shipped? That's actually a very, very good question. When an accident like this happens, they want to get those containers off that ship as quickly as possible, because every container contains something that some company is under contract to give to somebody else, and there's delay penalties. There's you can get into cancellations of contracts, which we're all going to come back. If I lose my business because your ship crashed, my contract gets canceled. I have to pay somebody because I didn't deliver them their goods, or I didn't get my goods, so I get to sue somebody. I'm coming after your ass too. I'm saying, okay, I had to pay this guy $100. I'm coming after you for $100 plus my legal fees and other things. So yeah, they want to get that stuff off the ship and get it where it's going as quickly as possible. But I mean, it could be a week or more before they get the containers off. But who knows how long the port is going to be locked. So my guess would be, and I don't know, this is me just purely speculating. I've seen it done in other accident situations where they will get those. They might bring another ship to up next to it and load them onto another ship and take them to shore. They may just wait till they get it extracted from the bridge and just pull the ship into shore. But they're going to get those off, and I would guess they're going to put them on trucks and get them to the nearest available port. That's that I've seen that done before in accident situations. They'll get them off the ship, they'll truck them to the nearest port that can handle them and take them to their destination. And this ship was headed for, it was headed from there to Sri Lanka, but not all of this cargo is going to Sri Lanka. As far as I understand. I don't know what kind of charter agreements they have, but they might be stopping at other ports along the way to dump off cargo and take on other cargo, but it was headed for Sri Lanka. So that's not a dumb question. That's actually a very good question, because there's a lot of people with a lot of stuff on those in those containers that's on that ship. And Phil Moore at the $5 super chat, you would tell us if something did look a little fishy though, right? Oh yeah, of course. Also, how should the U.S. respond? Should we take out 2 bridges to send a message? Yeah, there's no response necessary. But yes, I wouldn't sit here and go, oh yeah, everything looks kosher to me. But there's no chance that this was anything other than an accident. And again, we'll talk about that when we get over to the VDR situation. Thank you so much, Phil Moore. Don't take out bridges. We've already got another. The Gun Club. Hey, how you doing, brother? Gun Club. Excellent job on this Lorax. Thanks, man. Got the didn't have time to style the stash, but we're there. Thank you so much for your support, brother. Pinochet's helicopter tours with another. Don't worry, folks like Pete Buttigieg is on the case. You're so cynical. You're so cynical, Pinochet's helicopter tours. Thank you so much for that. And Derna 1804. We need to get Jeff millions of subscribers so he can embarrass himself in front of thousands of people instead of just 900. Yeah, sorry about that little audio glitch. I was listening to it. I just didn't realize that you weren't listening to that without me. So sorry about that. But we went back and we made it right. And Bad Weather Biker, hey, how you doing, brother? $10. Am I the only one who finds it annoying when they have 20 people standing around in the background doing nothing except trying to look important at a press conference? Actually, that kind of annoys me too. It's just there to show that, hey, you were there. You had to support. Just let whoever's speaking stand there. Everyone else, stand somewhere else. I'm so in that category too. It's distracting to me. And Duncan, Idaho, thank you so much. First speech was going medium strong until he dove headfirst into COVID era slop like Maryland tough and Baltimore strong. I hate that crap. Well, that went back to the Boston bombing. That's where all that started from, during the Boston strong thing. And everybody says, hey, that's a cool slogan. Every time something goes wrong somewhere, let's use that. But yeah, it makes people feel good. It's a rallying point. People need a rallying point at times like this. It doesn't particularly bother me. Let's just give people something to hang on to. And Tank Rat, member for 18 months. Thank you so much, brother. You are such a huge supporter of the show, and I love you to death for it. Didn't get the notification that you were on, was watching the Communist News Network report. My question is, how long, with your experience, will it take the government to do the investigation and publish the report? I would guess a final report. It's not unreasonable to think a couple of years. So there might be some preliminary reports coming in, but a final finding could take a year or 2 years to do. They're not quick. They're very, very thorough, and they might have hearings. They're going to do the investigation. They might have hearings and all these other. It's a long drawn out process. I would look to the Coast Guard first for publishing things, and it's still going to be several months before any type of published report comes out. There'll probably be little preliminary reports that we don't see, but the first official report, I would probably look towards the Coast Guard for that. Just again, pure speculation, gut instinct. That's how I feel it'll go. And also, thank you so much for the 20 Legal Vices memberships. If you were one of the people here, one of the new people here that got the 20 Legal Vices memberships, make sure you give Tank Rat a super special thanks. He's such a huge supporter of the show. I appreciate that. And again, for those of you just joining, we're clearing up some of the super chats. We watched the press conference that was just held. Once we get through the super chats, we'll go back and we'll hit some more of the headlines, and we'll look at what's going on traffic wise there. I'm just kind of looking at the traffic report. It's a mess. Pinochet's helicopter tours again. Key Bridge will be renamed Karl Marx. But you cynic. You're a cynical human being, Pinochet. Thank you so much. And again, 200 Watt Studio, thank you so much again. Idiotic, selfish questions about commute, rebuild, etc. This is still a rescue mission. Yeah, the reporters, they go, oh my God, everybody's asked all the good questions. My boss sent me here. I have to say something. I have to ask at least one question. So my boss sends me out on these things again. And then you end up asking some ridiculous, unimportant questions. Music and fiction, thank you so much. If people want to see what will happen in the reconstruction, look at the I-35 collapse in Minnesota from 2007 to see how they're going to handle it. Okay, I don't know how they handled it, but it's going to be a long process, and people are going to have to get used to the new reality of traffic in the area. And Tank Rat with the AED 500, was that about the last time I said it was like $136 last time I checked. What's the exchange rate done? Oh my God, Tank Rat, you are you're such a decent human being. Thank you so much. Yeah, 100 exactly. It's still 136. It's $136 super chat. Thank you so much for that. That's crazy. Plus with all the other memberships, I'm just utterly speechless. Thank you so much for all the support you give. I watched a side vid of the ship, and prior to hitting the bridge, the lights were out. Yeah, it went out twice. The lights went out twice. I don't know if it was a distress signal or an electric power. It was a power failure, apparently. As they said during the last press conference, I don't know if you caught it, but they said that they radioed that they were having a power failure issue. They managed to radio to the Coast Guard or the VTS, the port authority. They radioed to someone, and they managed to get the bridge shut down before the incident, before the collision happened. So yeah, it was a power outage, and they got the power on briefly, and then it went out again, and then it came on. So there was 2 separate power outages before it struck the bridge. Because the lights came on seconds before the ship hit the bridge, right? But I'd rather wait for the report. It went out one time before that as well. It went out for a longer period of time. Looks like they got the engine restarted because there was a lot of black smoke coming out of the stack, and the lights came back on, and then they went out again, and then they came on a couple of seconds before the accident. So it was a definite power outage issue. That was how it was reported. The governor mentioned it. So thank you so much again, Tank Rat. Appreciate you immensely. I wish I was drunk. Hey, Jeff, should be doing my FYP, but I'll join in. Well, thank you for being here, brother, all the way from Ireland. And Lynn, who's been a member for 4 months, Vice Squad is the best. Love y'all. Love you too, Lynn. Thank you so much. Tracy Fagan, a new member. Thank you so much for being our newest new member. Appreciate the support so much. And totally not a Russian bot. I'm pretty sure we didn't do well on the clean or sober part, but hey, we're here. Thank you so much for being a member of the clean and sober crew for 12 months. And Tracy Fagan with the $5. I can't imagine being one of the cars stopped at the toll. Yeah, it's like, gee, you're not allowed to proceed. Why? Oh, the bridge is going to collapse. That would be pretty wild. Or the last guy across the bridge. That would probably be more scary to me, to be the last guy across the bridge before it collapsed behind you. That'd be kind of spooky. Random Killer 563. What is the potential criminal liability for the crew? If any crew member is going to be held criminally liable for negligence or something like that, like negligence. I don't know what it would be there in Baltimore, but here in Korea they have it's the crime of occupational negligence resulting in damage or destruction of a vessel. So yeah, there might be something like that in Baltimore, but if there is, it's only because he happens to be the captain of the ship when this accident happened. So I would guess there might be some sort of occupational negligence involved, even though, as we said, this is the problem with being the buck stops here. The captain is where the buck stops on the ship. There were 2 pilots on board, but we talked about earlier how the pilots generally have a waiver of liability. Even though the captain is sort of taking a back seat to the pilot while the pilot is navigating the vessel safely, the captain is usually he's the one that gets held responsible because he could step in and do something. But in a case like this where the power goes out, again, I'm just totally theorizing. Perhaps if it was a maintenance problem, it could be the chief engineer. I don't know. The 2 people, if there's any, and it would be a stretch, I think, to find someone criminally liable in the case like this, but it would be the captain and or the chief engineer. Maybe like I said, the captain, just because he's responsible for everything that everybody does on the ship and the general overall safety, well-being, and operational aspects of the ship. And maybe the chief engineer because he's in charge of making sure that the power doesn't go out. Just some thoughts, pure speculation, way too early for anything like that. But you asked, I answered with just gut feelings. Cindy Lou, who member for 9 months, was P. Diddy in command of the ship? No, he's we don't know where P. Diddy is. We don't know where Diddy is. Diddy's somewhere else. If he definitely wouldn't be there, because then he would be caught. Tank Rat, the dolly has dead weight. That's a summer weight. The summer weight of because ships are actually heavier in the summer. It's a weird thing. The gross registered tonnage is just over 95,000 tons. The summer weight's like around 116,000 tons. So yeah, it's a big old ship. It's a big beast. Again, carries just under 10,000 containers, like 9,971 containers it carries. Potentially criminal. What's up, Sean? They mistook the bridge for some vacant row houses. Oh, you're just jealous that it was a bridge and not a set of train tracks that went up. You foamer. Love you, Sean. Potentially criminal, everybody. Thanks for being here, Sean. Appreciate you. Duncan, Idaho. We're almost done with the super chats. Then we'll get back to the articles. And I still want to talk to you about the VDR issue that I told you to bring up. I haven't forgotten it. Duncan, Idaho. The FBI guy looks like he practices saying, "Not anymore. This is my jurisdiction now," in the mirror. Oh, nice trope there. But he did look like a cookie cutter fed. Tracy Fagan again. I thought the pilot was from the port of Baltimore. Yes, the pilot. The two pilots are there on board. They would be from that area. That's their job, is to get ships in and out. But the crew of the vessel, 22 crew members on board the vessel, they were all Indian from India. So yeah, the pilots should have been from Baltimore. They're the experts on that port, getting ships in and out safely. T-Rex Trucking. What's up, T-Rex? Does the ship still need to be running its bilge pumps and whatnot to keep the ship from sinking? I don't think there was any damage below the water line, because the bow of the ship sticks out way ahead of the bottom part of the ship. And even sometimes they'll have like what's called a bulbous bow. That's like, it's kind of like a tube that sticks out of the front end of a ship. But even that isn't going to go out as far as the bow normally. So the bow would have just been the first thing to hit the deal. So I don't think there's any underwater damage that would create a risk of sinking. But it's got a bridge on top of it. So, if it sinks, it's going to sink. But they'll still keep the ship running as much as possible, just to to keep the power on and things like that. Nathan C. Is there a box on the ship to log the power outage? That we're going to get to that right after. That's the VDR I was telling you about. So we'll get right back to that in just 1 second. And thank you for bringing that question up. Member for 14 months, Nancy Joe M. Member for 14 months. Last person to cross the bridge. Final destination vibes. Right. Okay. Let's see. All right, I guess that pretty much clears all of these super chats. Thank you for bearing with me while we did that. It's important I got to those, except for Tank Rat. Lol, I missed a digit in that number. The weight, the summer weight is 116,851 tons. It's a big ship. It's one of the big container ships. Thank you again so much, Tank Rat. Okay, we talked, and it was the last question that was asked. Is there something that records the outage? Ships will have essentially the same thing as the black box on an airplane. They're VDRs, they're voyage data recorders. They record everything. They record everything that happens on that ship. They have all of the radars, all of the alarms, all of the systems, the heading, the speed, all of the temperatures, the fuel pressure. Literally every computerized thing on that ship is recorded by the VDR, by the voyage data recorder. And it's exactly like an airplane's black box. Has its own little power supply, so that if something like this does happen, it continues to function. There's microphones placed all over the bridge in different locations around the bridge, so you can pick up communication. And this ship is going to have a massive bridge. It's going to be a huge bridge. And they'll have microphones all around it, so that the VDR system picks up all of the audio that's being recorded. You can hear them talking on the radio. You can hear everything that's coming over the speakers. You can hear the conversation that's going on around you, which is how a lot of these accidents are unraveled. When you interview them, you're like, well, what happened? I don't know what happened. We were all very, very quiet, and we were looking out the window dead ahead. We were scanning the horizon. We were sounding the ship's whistle. We were sounding the foghorn. We were doing all of this, and this other ship just came out of nowhere and plowed into us. But then you go back and you analyze the VDR data, and they're having like a big party on the bridge. They're singing and dancing and music. Somebody's snoring. And yeah, you can't really get anything past the VDR data. So it's going to give you all of your alarms, your proximity alarms. If the power goes out, it's going to record that. And everything is in real time. Your heading, your bearing. It's also tracking the speed and course and distance of all of the other ships it's picking up on radar. It's an incredible system. So what happens when there's an accident or something like this, that is one of the very first things that the crew will do, is they'll hit the emergency stop button on the VDR system. Because it's on a loop, I believe most of them run on 12-hour cycles, so it'll start recording over itself in 12 hours. So boom, they'll hit the stop button. It might be 12 or 24 hours. They'll hit the stop button on the VDR system, and that locks it down. And not just anybody can come and take out that VDR system. It requires someone from the VDR company, a technician from the VDR company, to come on board the ship and manually remove it. And they take it off, and you download the data on it. So yeah, the VDR system is very, very important, and that's one of the prime things that people look at to say what happened. It has all of the readouts. So that's what I wanted to talk about. So all of us, oh yeah, they did this. This was a terrorist act. You could see like when the power went out, and then they suddenly turned. Somehow you're going to turn 100,000-ton ships suddenly. That doesn't happen, but all of that is going to be on the VDR data. Exactly what happened. So all of us, well, we don't know. We know everything because it's all on the VDR system. I don't know, it's not usually released publicly, but they'll definitely refer to it in the Coast Guard and the NTSB investigation reports, because that, I said again, is the prime thing they're going to be looking at when they investigate the accident. That's piece of evidence number one. And apparently it took 72 seconds, says Tom Colby, from the blackout to propulsion restored, and doing 8.5 knots at the time of blacking out. Well, and in addition to what you're looking at is just the forward speed of the ship itself, plus they're going downriver towards the ocean. So they've got that current, plus low tide is going out. So the tide is increasing the speed. It was just this gigantic battering ram. And once you get the power restored, it's just not like you're in an F1 car. Woo, we got the power restored. Like you see in the movies when the plane's going, and then suddenly it gets power restored, goes vroom, up over this doesn't happen. You get your power on, you go, well, shit, we've got just enough power to light the lights so we can watch ourselves smash into the bridge. There's virtually no time to change course on a ship that itself, we have to remember, the ship itself is 300 meters, 1,000 feet long. The ship itself is huge. You're not going to be able to do anything in a couple of 100 meters. Nothing at all. Yeah, Lois Thomas said there's a 13 knot crosswind. Yeah, don't forget the wind. The ship coming at that angle, it essentially is just like a giant wall. Go hold up like a big piece of plywood or sheet metal in a strong wind, and you watch how it blows you around, and then project that into a gigantic ship. So yeah, wind, current, tides, the ship's own speed, that all creates this situation. Whoever plugged the vacuum into the red plug is some deep doo-doo. Oh no. Yeah, my ship was 1,092 feet long, says Squid Pro Quo. It takes forever to get that ship to turn. That's one thing we were talking about earlier, is all of the ships will have what's called a turning circle. On a big post, you're required to have them on the bridge, an actual piece of paper with a diagram showing you how long it takes your vessel to turn 360 degrees. And a ship this size could take 30 minutes to turn around. That's just how long it takes to turn one of these monsters. And it's almost like everything's happening in slow motion. You can see it on and if any of you have actually been involved in a large vessel collision, you know way better than I do. But watching it play out on the VDR system, on the radar, when ships are approaching each other and things, it's like watching it in slow motion but at full speed, because you see them give the command, you hear them give the command to go hard to port, and then you'll watch nothing happen for 10, 15, 20 seconds. And then suddenly, just very slowly, you'll see the heading start to change. It just takes so long, and you're just watching them. You're going, all right, he's given the command to change course, and he's probably going to start just about the time those two ships hit each other. So yeah, it's a big slow process. Anyone know how? Anyone? Yes, it was a toll bridge. That was apparently the main toll bridge in that area. Squid Pro Quo says, I was aviation, so it wasn't exactly my department, but being on it was a carrier. Okay, yeah. Doing evasive maneuvers is freaky. Carriers, although they're bigger and they're massive, they're still actually they're a lot more mobile than this ship is. They're a lot more agile in the water than this ship is. So yeah, if it takes you a long time to turn, it takes us even longer. It's both slow. Yeah, it's both slow and fast. 300 meters moving slow is faster than you think. Like watching the moon fall to Earth. Exactly. It's really weird to try to explain it. But let's look at some more of the news updates. What's going on as soon as we hit these two things here. Matches burn $2. Thank you so much. Where are tugs used with cargo vessels? Let's see if I still have this up. I don't know for no, I don't have the. I'm trying to see if I've got like a map. Okay, there we go. This is a good screen to bring up. I'll answer your question here in just a quick second. But first, T-Rex trucking and more. Do we know yet if there are any other access into or out of the port of Baltimore? Again, I'll show you that picture here as well, so we can answer both of those questions with this graphic I want to put up right now. Let me swing this on up. And let's reverse the polarity. If only they had a flux capacitor, they could have traveled in time, but they weren't going anywhere near 88 miles an hour, so that wouldn't have worked. Here we go. This shows two things. Wait, where have you gone? Where have you gone, map? Why do I insist on touching things? There it is. It's embiggen it some more. It's above the ambulance. Where? There we go. All right. When would you use a tug in port? One time you do is and I don't know what they actually do in the port of Baltimore, but where my cursor is, say you bring a big long ship and you can kind of get it as close as possible to the berth. And say you're staying out here, then what you'll do is you'll put a few 1, 2, 3 tugs on the side of the ship, and you'll push it the rest of the way into the berth. And again, this is just my feeling looking at this graphic. You see how it made this U-turn, and I don't know what the width of that port is, but this looks like what they would do is, the ship's bow would be up here. The ship would be facing the direction the arrow is pointing when it's at the berth. So I would guess that they would use tugs maybe to pull the ship out a little ways from the pier. Then they would have one tug pushing on the rear port side or the left side of the ship, and then they would tie another tug to the front of the vessel, and basically this side is being pushed in and this side is being pulled around, so they help the ship do a U-turn here and come on out. Just judging by how tight and small this is, I would guess that a tugboat assisted with this U-turn. I can't imagine that the ship doing this on its own. That's a very, very tight turn. So I'm guessing that you would put it usually for like a ship this big, you would have at least 2 tugs. Possibly 3. And to answer the other question, I don't think there's another way in, because that's the bridge right there. You got all the berth, the piers in here, and this is where the bridge is. Runs right across there. So from what they're saying, they shut traffic in both directions down. So I'm guessing there might be a little bit of wiggle room on either side where ships are going to be able to get out at some point. I just don't know. I don't see it on the videos of the bridge, but it sounds like they have the option of keeping the port open. This is something I'm gonna have to look into before the next Maritime Monday, next Monday. Again, real quick, I haven't grifted yet. We're 2 hours and 20 minutes into this. If you're just joining this, my name is Jeff. Channel's Legal Vices. We talk about all kinds of things legal related and vice related. We do trials, we do lawsuits, things like that. But one thing we do, because my job, my real job, my full-time job is in the maritime law industry. I'm a lawyer in Korea, worked for a maritime law firm for the last 28 years. This is what I do. I do maritime related stuff. Accidents play a big part of it. If you Google like a Russian vessel hits bridge, that was a case that we were involved with. But we do a lot of maritime related cases. That's easily 70% of what I do. Every Monday we do a Maritime Monday, where we talk about ship collisions, old ship disasters, sailing ships. Occasionally cannibalism gets involved, shipwrecks, mutiny, whales, things like that. But we also do modern stuff like this. So please do me a favor and hit that like button. We've got 810 likes and I haven't even begged for a like yet. So thank you very much for doing that. Please hit the like button if you would, to let YouTube know what's going on. And we've got 943 concurrent viewers. Thank you so much for being here. You could be anywhere doing anything with anybody. You're spending it here with me, and I appreciate that and I value that. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would be incredibly grateful if you would do me that honor, because it would be my honor if you would do me that honor. If that makes sense, I would be grateful for it. It costs you nothing. It makes you feel good, makes me feel good. And I hope you would stick around and find out what we do here on the channel and give me a chance. We do a daily stream, usually starting at 9 a.m. Eastern, midnight UK time, or I'm sorry, 1 a.m. UK time. And that would be midnight Canberra time, if you happen to be in Australia. So we do it daily, 5 days a week. So join me. I'd love to have you here. Thank you so much. That was like, I feel weird grifting on streams like this. So that was kind of I'm a professional grifter. Wait, get me on a normal stream and I'll grift the hell out of the likes and subscribe. But I feel kind of weird about doing it today. I just wanted to throw that out there for an option. If you feel like you want to join the channel, I would be so happy to have you. We're actually 12 subscribers away from 74,500 subscribers. Wow, that's 12 more. Let's get us up to 74,500. Or if we want to get 512, that'll take us right up to 75,000. That'd be cool. All right, that's enough grifting. You know where the like button is. You know where the subscribe button is. Do it. Tank Rat, don't forget duck boats. Yeah, we've covered 2 duck boat accidents. Those little things are so damn dangerous. We're looking at the BBC site here, and let's go up to their latest updates, because they're updating very, very, very regularly. We don't want page 2; we want the first page. The bridge was fully up to code. Oh, this is why I like foreign press. They kind of take it to us Americans here. Wait, I'm beginning the wrong screen. That's what I want to do. In light of America's well-documented infrastructure problems, one of the questions swirling after the bridge collapse has been whether it had any pre-existing issues. The governor told reporters, which we just watched, that the span was fully up to code. Well, we just had an automatic update there. And again, we don't know exactly how many vehicles are in the water. In the first press conference that was held earlier in the morning, they said that the sonar had detected a few cars in the river. It may be from the construction people that were filling potholes. They don't think it was drivers, but there were just happened to be commuters on the bridge. But we'll have to see how that plays out. We got the governor here. That was from the press conference we just watched. The ship was moving at very rapid speed. It was like 8 knots, which you're looking at right around 10, 11 miles an hour, 12 miles an hour. That's not very fast over land, but in a port for a ship that size, that's pretty quick. That's a pretty fast speed in port. Yeah. This governor's a badass looking dude. Let's see, six people are missing. He said they rescued 2. 6 more are still believed to be missing. They don't think there's any more missing, but there could be. We fast forward through. We saw this with the press conference. International media are gathering for the conference we just watched. There's another view of it. Let's see what their quick recap says, shall we? Anybody want to give us some audio? I guess they don't want us to have audio. All right. Well. I guess they don't want us to hear the audio, but that's what we're looking at there is that you can see where the bridge came down right across the bow of the ship. And there's got to be another way out of this port. I'm going to have to, okay, it looks like maybe I don't know. Because the main part of the bridge where the ships go under is the part that collapsed. There's no way they're getting ships through there. I have no idea how they're going to get the ships out of the port until they clear off the debris, which will take days, if not weeks. So yeah, that's a piece of homework for me to do before Maritime Monday to find out what the hell this port looks like. Perhaps we should see if we can do a Google Earth. Should we do that? Google Maps. Google Maps Baltimore Port. Baltimore. Here. Oh, geez. Google Maps already has the. Oh my God! There is no way out of that. Wow. All right. Let me do this. Let me switch this up here. Right, they're still saying search and rescue is underway, and I think it's more of a search now than a rescue. All right, let me bring this screen up. Share the Baltimore port screen. So this is the bridge that collapsed here. You see the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. There is no other way out. Wow. Let me take off the dark screen. There we go. Wow, and that's just the harbor there. Yeah, damn. That's crazy. Looks like there's some ports here maybe as well, some berths, but that's the main road out. If you're inside on the other side of that if you're on the upper left hand side beyond this bridge, you ain't getting out of that ship until they clear that bridge out. That's wild. CME Fashionable says, could they move the containers in port to another port for loading onto ships? Yeah, that was one thing we talked about earlier. They said they were still processing containers in the port. So which means that I guess if there's outbound trucking from the port, they're still going to truck them out of the port on the roads, and they're still getting trucks into the port maybe. But I would guess they're probably trying to find a different way now. But what they're going to be doing likely with the ships that are trapped inside the port and the ship that struck the bridge, they're going to be trying to get those containers off that ship as quickly as possible. And the other ships that were supposed to leave, they'll probably wait a few days to see if they're going to be late. But if it looks like there's going to be a delay of several weeks getting out, then they will also try to get rid of their containers. And as I was saying, they will most likely truck them overland to the nearest available port or berth where they can be transshipped onto another ship or loaded onto a ship other than the one that they originally should have been on. So yeah, that's a very good question, and absolutely, especially the ones that are on that ship, because the Dolly, the ship that hit the bridge, that ship ain't going anywhere for a very long time. So they're going to try to get those containers off, get them overland onto another, probably to another port would be my guess. Legal Vices, I've trucked out of that port. Hey, Fun Dying, how you doing? They have multiple truck. Yeah, there'll be any number of entrances. All of these roads here, each port is going to have its own entrance. Probably several entrances for each terminal. The trucking in and out is not a problem. Getting your ship past this bridge is the problem. So, I don't know where the nearest port would be that could take the cargo, but I would guess that's where they might be headed. Those people are blue crab food now. It's sad, but I don't see them recovering the bodies anytime soon because, like I said, the tide was going out. The current was strong. Yeah, they probably got washed out into this area somewhere. They'll wash it. If they're lucky, they'll wash up somewhere. So I have Annapolis. I have no idea where the next port would be. The area where the red deal is, that's the port that's affected. Just have no idea. So somewhere along Chesapeake Bay, there's going to be other ports. Whether it's Annapolis, I'm pretty sure that's probably mostly just naval stuff. But who knows? But yeah, that's my guess. Yeah, watching the video, it was pretty unreal. It was crazy just to watch that bridge just come down so quick. They're calling it search and rescue. Doubt those cars weren't flooded immediately. They don't think there was any passenger cars though. That seems to be what the governor is going off of now. There doesn't seem to be any passenger cars at the moment. Maybe he's speculating. I'm speculating based on his statements that could have been the road construction crew, because he seems to think that all of the people that are missing were part of the road construction crew that was filling potholes. Because they said that between the time the ship lost power and they radioed they were having power issues to the time of the collision, they were able to stop traffic on the bridge. So it seems that most if not all of the cars got off the bridge. What do you say, Flux? It is causing problems for our trucks through. Yeah, there's going to be some for anybody that's doing anything logistics wise in that area. It's going to be screwed for a very, very long time. Are there any victims? 6 people are missing right now. One person is in, last we heard, very, very serious condition in the hospital, and another person suffered no injuries. So 6 missing, 1 severely injured, 1 no problem. Again, yeah, 8 people involved. 1 okay. 6 missing, 1 not okay. Yes, there was a road construction crew. They were filling potholes. They weren't doing anything structure-wise. They said it was just a pothole filling crew. Tank rat with the 25 AEDs. According to Ship Tracker, there are 6 cargo ships are trapped behind that bridge. A number of U.S. naval ships are also stuck. Yeah, I haven't looked at the vessel tracking stuff for quite some time, for a few hours yet. So 6 cargo ships are trapped behind the bridge, and they're going to be there for a while. Oh yeah, there's they were saying that there's at least 40 ships that were expected to come into port, I believe, today. And they're going to have to be looking for another place to go. And then there was probably ships that were there waiting to take on cargo, waiting to discharge cargo. When things like this happen, it just creates such a logistical nightmare. I don't know what our office password to marine traffic is. So I'll just have to see what we can see for free. Let's see. Baltimore. Helps if I spell Baltimore right. We have ports. There we go. Right. Let's see what it shows us. Okay, let's look at the live feed from marine traffic, the free edition. Present screen. Oops, we don't want that. We want to present this screen. Share screen. Marine traffic. All right, this is the port here, and if we zoom in, that's the dolly right there. This is the bridge. Let me see if I can full screen this. Nope. You have to pay to full screen it. Wish I knew what the password was. So anyway, this is the bridge here, and of course that is the dolly that's wedged in the bridge. And here's your navigation buoys. And see, each ship has an AIS. It's an identifying system which gives you the names of the ships here. This is the Reynolds. Apparently, it's a U.S. It's the Army Corps of Engineers. It's a ship. That's where it was 1 minute ago. This over here, that's a tugboat. We've got a marine vessel here. There's another, because the Coast Guard ship. It's CG 45640. So we still got lots of Coast Guards. Who's this over here? We got two ships here. Two looks like marine ships. The Bridget McAllister. It's a going to Norfolk. If it's going to Norfolk, I would guess that's a Navy ship as well. Here's one of the ships that's stuck in port. The Phatra Nari from Thailand. Let's see. Okay, what do we got going on here? These are smaller boats. Here's one over here. Who is this? The Island Pilot. That's a U.S. ship. We got that one. The J.Y. River. LR. Where the hell is LR? Don't know what LR would be. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, there's some further way upriver here. We've got the Siamagracht from the Netherlands, it looks like. The Denabola, it's a U.S. ship. The Gary I. Gordon, that's a very Navy named ship there. The Clara the Oldendorf. So yeah, there's a few ships that are stuck in there. And if we zoom out here, what's it going to tell us here? Go down by Annapolis. Yeah, there's a little traffic jam down there past down by Annapolis there. Yep, that's the Annapolis traffic jam that we were just talking about here. So there's the CGL. That's another Singapore ship. LR. Where the hell is LR? Liberia? I don't know. H. Gladstone. So yeah, you can go to marinetraffic.com, and this is their freebie deal. And you can see the ships. If you click on the ships, it'll give you information here. It's got a picture of the ship. If you pay, you can show where it's been, where they're going to be going. where you said where they come from. You can check their arrival times, their departure times. It's underway using its engine. It gives you the course and speed 10.4 knots on a course of 10 degrees. Its draft, that's the distance from the water line to the bottom of the ship, is 9.5 meters. So yeah, it's a general cargo ship, gives you the country it's from. So yeah, these are invaluable. LR is Liberia. That's what I guessed it was Liberia. I was right. I'm clever. It's almost like I've been doing this. I should trust my feelings. Securing reality. That's a good name for a ship. What is it? It's a pleasure craft. Aha. That's a nice little pleasure craft. Anyway, so things are starting to build up here. Yeah. And it's very, very empty up here. Who's this bad boy? I guess the Gulf Coast. What is the Gulf Coast? Oh, that's a tiny little tugboat. There's a little old tugboat there. So he's tooling around up here. Here's let's see let's pull up the picture of the dolly, shall we? Oh God, that's about as accurate. That's about as recent as a picture of the dolly as you're gonna get. Yeah. That's I would call that a very up-to-date photograph of the dolly. And if we want to see here's the catlet that's there. That's a dredger. We've got a dredger there for some reason. And okay, the Marine 2 is law enforcement. We'll call that the Coast Guard. Here's some more buoys. These are probably there's a ship here. Stay away from it. Buoy. And one more. Let's see what this ship is here. The Bridget McAllister. That's a tugboat as well. So yeah, there's tugboats circling the area, which is to be expected. So that kind of gives you a look at the area. And these are all the ships at the mouth of Chesapeake Bay. You'd be surprised at how many ships there are out in the world. This is all the ships just sailing around in the ocean. This is me nerding out. You're watching me nerd out right now. I could stare at this shit all day. Just looking at all these ships out there in the ocean, just passing each other. These are all the ships in the world. Yeah. This is nerd heaven for me. So if we come up here to Korea, hey, there we are. There's me. Hi, me. Okay, that's young. I used to live on that island. This is the main port here. Yeah, I used to live on that island there. Where's the bridge that the Russian ship hit a while ago is right here. It actually goes all the way across. I don't know why that's there. What is that? Is that the little? Oh yeah, okay, that's the little tiny thing. Anyway, that's where I live. So got all the ships coming into Busan port here. So you can go anywhere in the world and see what ships are where. There's a few of them out there. All right, let's see what we got going on the news report. Let's pop in on the news and see what's good. It looks like we're about ready to shut this down. I think all of the current news is sort of, I believe, getting to be at an end here. The news cycle seems to be starting to repeat itself. But let's pull up here just to catch up and see if they're talking about anything new.
I want to just stop and just give it a look because it's just something that we've never experienced
and
before.
You're going to want to watch it more than once because it's hard to believe what you're looking at.
Yeah, this is the key bridge this morning, early this morning, wee hours, just before 2:00 a.m. And we watched what has really been a staple of Baltimore, a tradition of Baltimore, an icon. It's a postcard in seconds to watch this gigantic container ship just bring it down. We know that there was a crew working on it.
Yeah, they're recycling news. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can find something new, and if we find any new current news. Baltimore Bridge. look at news. Live. Yeah, there just kind of doesn't seem to be a lot of new news and new information going on right now. Let's see what CNN live updates. What's the latest from CNN? A minute by minute timeline. We don't really care about that. Emergency call from ship allowed authorities to close bridge and save lives. That's what the governor mentioned. So yeah, the news cycle's starting to repeat itself. Bridge collapse may slow some auto imports and exports. Yeah, there's a car terminal there. They call them RoRo terminals. Roll on, roll off is what it stands for. So they have a lot of car ships there, car carriers they call them. So yeah, it may have a big effect on that. A number of major automakers, including General Motors, Toyota, and Volkswagen Group, and makers of VW, Audi, and Bentley cars and SUVs, use the Port of Baltimore to ship vehicles in and out of the East Coast of the United States. With Baltimore closed, automakers will now work to find other ports to bring. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. You're going to find another port to get things out and another port to get things in. We'll now find other ports to bring vehicles in the U.S. and to ship out ones that are manufactured here. GM, for instance, exports vehicles to South America and America through Baltimore. Pete Buttigieg is heading to Baltimore today. 5 vehicles submerged in the water have been found. Okay, that's interesting. They found 5 vehicles in the water. Authorities have been able to find 3 passenger vehicles, a cement truck, and a 5th vehicle submerged in the water using infrared and side scan sonar technology. Up to 8 dive teams were in the water performing search and rescue operations, he said, noting he's unsure if the 5th car is a passenger or work vehicle. It's the dynamic of an incident like this operating in a space of uncertainty that makes things very difficult, he said. Add darkness to it and it becomes dangerous. Singapore is going to launch an investigation into it, looks like, which I would expect. Singapore's Maritime and Port Authority, and they are serious people. I've had several cases involving the Singapore Maritime Port Authority. Very, very good investigators. The Port of Singapore is a huge hub in Asia, very, very strictly controlled. And these guys don't mess around either. So you expect a very, very good investigation from Singapore. To launch an investigation into the container ship Dolly and the bridge collapse in Baltimore, according to the statement from the MPA, that's the Singapore's Maritime Port Authority. The Dolly is a Singapore registered vessel. They said they're in contact with the U.S. Coast Guard. They're going to provide full cooperation. Insurers, yeah, the insurance companies are here. And we talked about this at the beginning, so I'm sure a lot of you, if not most of you, missed it. The Britannia P&I Club. It's a protection it's a protection and indemnity society. It functions like an insurance company, but it's not actually an insurance company. It's a cooperative, essentially. It's like a collective. These P&I companies, all of the ship owners that register their ships with the P&I insurance, the protection and indemnity clubs, they basically contribute to this fund where accidents are settled from. All the payouts come from this fund that's paid into by all of the ship owners. The Britannia P&I Club provides protection and indemnity insurance and freight demurrage defense insurance to ship owners and charters, according to the company's website. Britannia added as well, it's working to help ensure that the situation is dealt with quickly and professionally. Now, according to Equisys.org, that's a major ship identification service where it lists the registered owners, the operators, and all of that. It says that the Britannia P&I Club took over the protection and indemnity insurance on this vessel on March 4th, like 3 weeks ago. Yikes. That's got to hurt. Well, welcome to the club. And then 3 weeks later, this happens. That would just crush your soul if you happen to be the people dealing with that of the insurance companies now. The crew, okay, they did confirm that the crew on the ship notified the authorities that they had lost power. Okay, now we're back to the bridge being fully up to code. All right, I think we have we've gotten to the end of the news cycle. It's going to be repeats now. I don't know how long it's going to be. Information now is just going to start to trickle out. And like I said, when there's something important to report, I'll do a YouTube short video and upload that. And next Monday, we'll talk about what we've known so far. We'll look at some of these details again, some more information I'm able to obtain between now and next Monday. When we do our Maritime Monday, certainly this will be a topic of conversation. Let me put the dark mode back on. There we go. Few more comments to get through here. The DCV Titan, thank you so much for your support. Maybe it's time to rethink ship design. Rudders under the bow of the ship would allow for quicker turns, could capsize the ship. Yeah, we don't want to capsize the ships. The design of ships, they make tweaks, but by and large, the design of ships have worked out since the beginning of shipping. The general overall shape. I don't even want to get too radical yet. K-Matt Red Queen, new member. Thank you so much for being a new member of let me scroll down. Where are we? We are a new member of the Clean and Sober crew. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Hope you'll stick around for this and everything else we talk about here on the channel. Stephen Cooper, someone's insurance is going way up. Yeah, and again, this is one of these deals where, as I said, everybody pools into they put their money into the pools, and the pool pays out for indemnity. So basically, everybody's insurance rate is going up because of this. And every other accident, every time there's an accident, it has to be covered by the money in the pool. And if it gets, if it looks like it's going to be depleted or there's not enough, then it goes up the next year to add more money into the pool. So the rates are going to go up. But interestingly enough, insurance companies also have insurance companies. That's something that we say, oh, poor insurance companies. But there's also what's called reinsurance companies. They're the insurance companies that insure the insurers. So yeah, the issue of the arena of reinsurance law is pretty cool. Someone's insurance. Yeah, we just read that one. Thank you so much for this part. And Tracy Fagan, it's my understanding that it's only 50 feet deep in that channel. Yeah, there's a couple of bursts that are, and 50 feet is still deep enough for most ships. This, I don't know what the draft on this ship was. Dang it, should have kept the ship information up. But yeah, that's pretty deep. 50 feet is pretty deep. Tank Rat with a 25. Thank you again. According to Ship Tracker, there are 6. We read this. 6 cargo ships trapped behind the bridge. A number of U.S. naval ships are also stuck. That's what sent us rabbit holing down the the shipping site. Will Call Magic, how you doing, brother? Member for 12 months. Wonder how many foreign subs are now stuck upriver. Maybe he purposely closed the river to keep them out. Nah, that would be kind of funny if there actually happened to be like an enemy sub that got trapped up there. But we would have seen it long before, because they'd have to go past the Naval Academy to get there. Baltimore is the main port for automakers in the Northeast. It seems to be that way from what we just read. It's going to be it's going to be a mess, and it's weird things like you won't expect are going to come out of the woodwork later. Bad Weather Biker with a $10. Thank you so much. Another ripple effect is the container trains in transit. It's entirely possible they are double stacked trains being put in side tracks all the way back to Chicago. Yep, I don't know how many containers are in there. There might even be a container shortage in the area. I mean, certainly it's not going to cause a worldwide container shortage, but could be a local container issue. Then you have to do the transit by truck or train. Get ready, area, for just some weird stuff happening. And Bifron's member for 5 months says, thank you, Jeff. Well, thank you, Bifron's. And we've got 934 likes. Wow, that's pretty cool. Thank you, guys. You got us up over 900 likes. that makes me feel happy because I love you guys. And we're 7 subscribers away from 74,500. And there's how many of you are here? 845 of you here. I'm sure at least 7 of you aren't subscribed. And I would be honored if you would just reach down there and hit that subscribe button if you've liked anything we've done about this. We're going to continue to give the updates. We're going to talk more about it next Monday when we do a Maritime Monday. We do a Maritime Monday every Monday here. Usually we haven't been able to do it the past couple of weeks because of other things we've been covering, but we're definitely going to be back to Maritime Monday next week to recount this, to provide any new updates and any new insight that comes in between now and then. Tomorrow we're going to start looking at a federal lawsuit in a case where a young man has filed a federal civil complaint against a sheriff's department in Florida for excessive use of force, basically violating all of his rights. It's a pretty damning federal lawsuit. We're looking at that. And Thursday, we're going to start a retro trial. We watched O.J. Simpson for like a year and a half. We're starting a new trial, a new retro trial from 2020. A man who was accused of murdering his 2 stepbrothers and his mother in a ritualistic witchcraft style murder, according to the prosecutors. We're going to be looking at that every Thursday until we finish it. Friday, we could be talking about this. We could be talking about other cases. So this is what we do. We do legal matters, and we focus on maritime matters on Mondays. I think it's time for me to shut this down. We've been going for 3 hours now. Let me see if there's an interesting place to send you all. Where should we send you? Because you guys have been so good in sitting through this. Again, it's a very, very fluid situation. Nobody knows what's going on. Me, least of all. I'm just giving you some insight that I have professionally, personally, some gut instincts. You guys in chat have been amazing, providing your insights and things like that. Jeff, you just got a shout out on the Speak the Truth podcast from a caller. Okay, I don't know the Speak the Truth podcast from a caller. That would be awesome. Hey, whoever did that, thanks. I love you. You guys are awesome. Let's see. I'm looking for a place to send us for some more information on this, or just someone who's doing something entertaining. Let me see. Pulling up myself here. Customization, redirect. Who are we going to redirect you to? Karen Reed hearing. Ooh. It's still pretty early, I guess. There's not a lot of people doing a lot of things. A lot of stuff scheduled to be upcoming. So I'm just going to turn you off. I'm just going to send you off into the wild. You guys can go wherever you want. Play the YouTube lottery and see where it sends you. Or, Megan's not on. Valhalla Waits is live. I didn't see him, but anyway, I've already closed out that screen. So we're going to send you wherever you go. Speak the Truth podcast. I've got some things to do around the house before I go to sleep. It's 12:30 a.m. here. Speak the Truth podcast. I'll listen to it. I've never heard of it. Speak the Truth podcast. Thank you for telling me that. Speak the Truth. 334,000 subscribers. Wow. Key Bridge. He's live. Let me see if we can send you there. I think I need to be subscribed. I need to subscribe. Let's see. Ukraine and Israel war update. Okay, they're talking about the Ukraine and Israeli war. It's not really talking about the Key Bridge. It says Key Bridge collapse. Maybe I guess they are if someone gave a shout out. So let me see. I'll subscribe to them, and let's see if I can redirect you to them. I'm sorry to keep you all waiting here again. Let's see if I can. They probably don't, because they're such a big channel. They probably don't allow people to send to them. Speak the Truth. Nope, that's a scheduled one. No, they've got to be live. They have to be live. Again, sorry, I'm just doing this on the fly here. Speak the Truth. The Truth. They are live, and I can. So we'll send you over to the Speak the Truth podcast. How's that? Everybody, tell them hi. Tell them Legal Advice is somebody they've never heard of, except for whoever just gave me a shout out. Yeah, I owe you dogs tomorrow. We'll give you. Normally in the streams, if we get $100 in super chats, we turn on the dog cam. I've got 2 English bulldogs. We just call them the emotional support potato cam. But it didn't seem appropriate to do that today, so we'll do it tomorrow. Dogs from the beginning tomorrow. And all right, we're going to send you over to the Speak the Truth podcast. Tell them Legal Advices, whom they've never heard of before, sends you, and give them some love. Mods, thank you from the very, very bottom of my cold, prickly heart for everything you've done. All of this, the impromptu, the extra early stream. Thank you, people in chat. You guys have been amazing, keeping each other entertained, keeping each other talking, bringing excellent questions to me. You're giving some great insight. I love you guys. You could have done anything for the past 2 hours, the past 3 hours, and you chose to be here with me. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super chats, the memberships, the monthly memberships, the gifted memberships. Thank you for everything. You guys are truly, truly great, great people. I love you all. I will see you tomorrow, where we're going to start looking into the Virgilio Aguilar Mendez federal lawsuit against the Levy County Sheriff's Department and the officers that were involved in his essentially what amounted to torture. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll give you updates on shorts as they come available, as major things happen in this bridge collapse case. Love y'all. See you tomorrow. Take care. Me, Lawrax, saying goodbye from Legal Vices. Bye now.